Congratulations, this is a flying pet that can help trial participants pass through the snowy mountains. The dragon obediently lowered its head, inviting him to step on its back. Ye Junlin chuckled. There are such perks, how generous, how generous. He jumped onto the dragon's back and gently patted its head. Let's go! The dragon's roar resounded, and its huge wings flapped powerfully, carrying him up, rushing forward, and speeding past countless barriers along the way. Ye Junlin stretched out his arms and shouted loudly, Yahoo, take off! Shui Wuyin was shivering in the snow and wind, looked up, and saw the ice-scaled winged dragon flying past, with a silver-haired youth on its back, his figure straight, his appearance handsome, his hair fluttering in the wind, and his aura was shocking. But at this time, Shui Wuyin was still fighting the Snow King, a tall monster with a golden crown on its head, sapphire blue eyes, and a long carrot nose, fiercely attacking. But under Shui Wuyin's barrage of ice blue fist prints, the Snow King was caught off guard, his crown shattered, and finally his body fell, turning into starlight and dissipating. Shui Wuyin sighed and looked forward, frowning slightly, only to see the ice-scaled winged dragon rushing away, as fast as lightning, flying across the snowy mountain, and then turning into spots of light and disappearing into the distance. Above the flame mountain, large and small ravines intertwined, with red-hot lava flowing down and scorching heat engulfing the space, making anyone who set foot in it feel unbearably hot. Black smoke billowed all around, mixed with the surging heat, and those who participated in the trial here were choked with smoke and their eyes stung. Thick dust and heat that rushed into their throats made them look as embarrassed as stray dogs. Some people cursed loudly. What the hell is this so hot? But this place was too harsh, and cultivators in the Qi refining realm couldn't stand it. Cracks suddenly burst into flames under their feet, making people unable to guard against it. Ye Junlin, on the other hand, was just strolling around, leisurely walking and rolling the dice as he went. Like flowing water and drifting clouds, he was carefree and unaffected. Just then, Ye Junlin stepped on a bright square, and a Yang treasure appeared before his eyes. Upon opening it, he found a card with a few lines written on it. Just shout, retreat, retreat, loudly, and the road ahead will open smoothly. Without hesitation, he pointed straight ahead and shouted 3 times. His voice seemed to contain magic, and immediately the black smoke dissipated. The red flames died down, the traps collapsed, and even the statues of the beastmen turned to ashes. As the card said, the road ahead became clear and smooth. Ye Junlin leisurely passed through the flaming mountain, and a vast prairie opened up before him. The atmosphere here was much more comfortable, and a shiny diamond yang appeared in front of him. Ye Junlin rubbed his hands and laughed. Looks like I've got a big treasure this time. Opening the yang, 2 streams of white light flew out, circling around his shoes, and Chinese characters appeared in the air. Congratulations, you can now run away at will. As if you don't see any obstacles until you leave the prairie. Ye Junlin laughed loudly. Good, good, this time I don't need to roll the dice. As soon as he took a step, a mysterious force supported him, and his whole body shot forward. The air roared on both sides, the scenery changed rapidly, his silver hair fluttered, and he hummed a folk song in his mouth, running away with the wind. Freedom is the direction. In the distance, 2 figures were fighting. Hong Tianye narrowed her phoenix eyes at the black-clad figure riding the white steed. The familiar feeling made her slightly suspicious, while Chen Xiao controlled the white steed, filled with resentment. HMPH, don't even dream of surpassing. But at that moment, the white steed neighed and turned into starlight, disappearing. Chen Xiao almost fell head over heels. Hong Tianye laughed triumphantly. Ha, this time I'll win the first round. Suddenly, a strong wind rose, and a blurry figure like lightning passed by, stirring up dust and heading straight for the end of the road. Hong Tianye was stunned. Could something have just passed by? It looked familiar. Could it be the Yen family? No way, he just started. How could he have gotten here? As soon as she finished speaking, a figure suddenly stopped in front of her, turned to her, and smiled. Little Hong, so you're here. Hong Tianye was shocked, as if struck by lightning, and stammered in surprise. Shizun, Ye Junlin replied indifferently. Can't you see? I'm jogging. After saying that, he waved his hand again. All right, no more talking. I'll go first. You try your best, I'll wait at the finish line. As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed away like the wind. Hong Tianye stood still, her heart filled with mixed feelings. She had just vowed to win, but in an instant it was shattered, leaving only indescribable bitterness. Chen Xiao was like a wooden puppet, staring blankly at the disappearing figure. Up ahead, a figure stopped, turning back with a smile. Zhao Hong, so you were here? Hong Tianye was struck as if by lightning, stammering in shock. Master you, Ye Junlin casually replied. Can't you see? I'm jogging. With that, he waved his hand. All right, gotta dash. You keep at it, I'll be waiting at the finish line. Finishing his sentence, he bolted off like a gust of wind. Hong Tianye stood frozen, her heart a mess. Just now she swore to win, and in a flash her resolve shattered. All she felt was indescribable bitterness. As for Chen Xiao, he was like a wooden statue, dumbfounded as he watched the disappearing figure, muttering, what the heck? That fast, he's practically the avatar of wind. The two looked at each other, their fighting spirit completely gone. They sadly shook the dice, their hearts filled with a faint sense of melancholy. Whoosh, 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 the surrounding air howled, the sound of wind roaring in his ears. Ye Junlin, with unimaginable speed, took the lead, directly sprinting out of the Great Plains. For the following maps, he relied on his incredible luck, sometimes riding a mount, sometimes using teleportation, crossing the checkpoints like it was child's play. Very quickly, he arrived at the midpoint. Before him was an empty field, the hourglass above still half full. Ye Junlin shook his head and sighed. Ah, if I knew. I would have slowed down a bit. He casually tossed the dice behind him, which happened to land on 60 brightly lit points. Just then, his stomach rumbled loudly, Ye Junlin said with a smile. Running for so long, it's normal to be hungry. Gotta treat myself to something good. After all, his cultivation level was suppressed down to the qi refining stage, so it's no wonder he felt hungry after so much exercise. On a mountain nearby, Liu Huangchu, the first-generation island master of the fallen immortal island, stared at the image in the water mirror, still in shock. He muttered to himself in disbelief. What the actual heck is this heaven-defying luck? A 1 in 1,000 chance dice roll that he triggered casually? A smooth process without any obstacles? Is this kid the Heavenly Father's favorite son? Or what? Thinking so, he remembered that he had anticipated this. The final Doppio contest was based on luck, after all. Those who stood at the top of the pyramid in ancient times, who wasn't born with heaven-defying luck. Those who didn't were swept away by the tide of time, leaving no trace behind. But now, someone with even more heaven-defying luck than them had appeared. Wasn't this a turning point? Luck was a type of strength. But thinking about it, this luck was too exaggerated. The more he thought about it, the harder it was to believe. Just as he was about to smile happily, his eyes suddenly froze, and the corners of his mouth twitched. On the empty field, smoke rose from a cooking fire. Ye Junlin set up a barbecue grill, taking out a pile of meat skewers from his storage ring, flipping them, while brushing on spices, humming a folk tune. Soon after, the fragrant aroma of meat filled the air. Ye Junlin grabbed a skewer and stuffed it into his mouth, eating with relish, a look of satisfaction on his face. Seeing this scene, Liu Huangchu's eyelids twitched uncontrollably, wanting to rush over and grab his collar, roaring, "What are you doing?" This is the Colosseum Realm's top-tier inheritance trial. Can't you be a little serious? But thinking about his senior status, he could only swallow his anger, forcing a stiff smile. Well, enjoying the moment can be considered maintaining a childlike heart, I guess. A moment later, Hong Tianye and Chen Xiao stepped into the midpoint, one after another. The two were panting heavily, drenched in sweat. Looking up, they saw the silver-haired youth casually eating grilled skewers, and a hard-to-describe feeling surged in their hearts. Ye Junlin smiled and called out, "Xiao Hong, are you hungry? Come and have some chicken." Hong Tianye blushed. Her master's words sounded weird, but she was indeed exhausted and hungry. That skewer was like a hot coal on a snowy day. She couldn't help but take it, nodding as she ate. "Thank you, master." Chen Zhao swallowed his saliva repeatedly, finally gritting his teeth and turning away, sitting cross-legged and swallowing a traceless valley pill, muttering, "HMPH, this is the true path of cultivation." A while later, Li Wuji also stumbled over, his clothes tattered, his whole body covered in dirt like a refugee. As soon as he smelled the meat, his eyes lit up, and he rushed over, shouting, "Oh, save some for me!" He reached out and grabbed a handful of skewers, his saliva almost forming a river. But instantly, a lightning-fast sidekick slammed straight into him, sending him flying dozens of meters, rolling around before finally collapsing face-first into the dirt, mouth full of sand. Li Wuji winced in pain, eyes wide, head spinning. Not only did he not get to eat the skewers, but he got beat up badly. Ye Junlin snorted coldly. "Are you and I that familiar? You came up and snatched food right away, so rude." Li Wuji was dumbfounded, face black with question marks. He endured for a long time before stammering, Master, I'm your third disciple. How can you not recognize me?" Ye Junlin froze, glancing questioningly at Hong Tianye, and seeing him nod helplessly, he instantly understood. Ye Junlin coughed a few times, hurriedly helping his disciple up, smiling a little embarrassedly. "Sorry, you've changed too much," Li Wuji forced a smile, pointing at the pile of grilled bugs, carefully asking in a polite tone, "Master, can I eat them all this time?" Ye Junlin blinked. "You can." Li Wuji, as if granted amnesty, pounced on a grilled skewer, eating like a starving ghost, tears glistening in the corners of his eyes. Ye Junlin stood beside him, sighing with emotion. "Little Li, if you had come any later, your master would have been full. But don't worry, I'll leave the rest for you." Li Wuji's movements froze, his face twisting as if he was about to cry, "Master, you really know how to comfort people." Afterwards, when the sand in the golden hourglass ran out, it also meant the end of this trial. Just then, a majestic voice echoed across the sky above fallen immortal island. "This round is over. Congratulations to the trial participants who have successfully advanced. The one who achieves first place will be granted an immortal art baptism." A dazzling immortal light shone down on Ye Junlin, his whole body instantly radiating countless auspicious signs. Gasps of astonishment rang out in the crowd, with some exclaiming, "Receiving an immortal art baptism, cultivation in the future will surely be divinely assisted. Senior Ye's ascension to immortality is within reach." But Chen Xiao gnashed his teeth, eyes red, jealous to the point of madness, while Hong Tianye felt his heart was a mess. Ranking second himself, looking at the back of the silver-haired youth bathed in immortal light, he couldn't help but feel a pang of bitterness. Even when the aura dissipated, Ye Junlin remained expressionless, because in reality, to him, this thing wasn't even worth a grilled skewer. Li Wuji asked suspiciously, "Master, aren't you happy?" Everyone was also surprised. If this kind of benefit was placed outside, it would be enough to cause immortal sects to wage war and rivers of blood, yet Senior Yi just brushed it off. Ye Junlin raised his hands, forcing a smile. "Haha, I'm really very happy." Everyone was silent, feeling it was too perfunctory. Meanwhile, up high, Liu Huangchu's complexion was ugly, feeling his honor had been humiliated. It must be known that the immortal art baptism in the most prosperous period of the Lonely Wheel realm was a priceless opportunity, enough to cause immortal princes to fight to the point of destruction, yet someone was so indifferent. There was no need to be so happy you cried, at least there should be some expression. The result was like this, making him choke with anger, as if he had poured his heart out and fed it to the dogs. A moment later, the majestic voice echoed again, The second round opens. Please enter the next location. Right in front, the huge cliff cracked open, rumbling apart, dust billowing, and the momentum was earth-shattering. Everyone walked along with trepidation, secretly guessing how strange the next trial would be. Li Wuji, while munching on grilled bugs, walked while looking at the scene in front of him with wide eyes. Hong Tianye also twitched his head, exclaiming in surprise, This is... Ye Junlin paused, his pupils reflecting tiny spots of light, like countless glowing insects moving, and he fell into silent contemplation. Everyone looked towards the front in astonishment, only to see long, 3-meter blocks of light, shaped like glowing insects, everyone guessing about the content of this trial. At that moment, a deep, sonorous bronze bell rang out, the sound spreading across the heavens and earth, then pouring straight into everyone's minds. Please, enter the projection space in sequence. The longer you survive, the greater your chance of victory. This time, only 100 slots will be kept, and the rest will be eliminated. Hearing this, both men and women exclaimed in shock. One round only allows 100 people to continue, and the rest are all eliminated. Just hearing it is already cruel. At this time, everyone entered the projection space one after another. According to the rules, they had to try to survive as long as possible. Outside of the 100 slots, all would be eliminated. Li Wuji opened his eyes, discovering he was on a strange mountain, trees dense, the scorching sun shining down, making his whole body feel warm. He hurriedly touched his waist, searching for his treasured blade. But it was empty. He secretly cried out in alarm, then tried to exercise a few times, but realized his body was unusually weak, without any strength left. He looked down at his wrinkled hands, discovering he had turned into an old man in his twilight years, without even half a point of cultivation, and right in front of him appeared several lines of text. Hello, trial participant. You will play the role of an ordinary old man in the mountains, full of rampant wild beasts, and find a way to survive, until unexpected death. Li Wuji was angry, almost cursing. This trial is too much of a rip-off. This body is at least 70 years old, so weak, yet it's forced to survive in a deserted mountain. Is it playing with lives? He reached out to hold his chest, trying to adjust his breathing, almost dying on the spot, finally managing to calm down. In the arena, Liu Huangchu observed the trial participants. Seeing them having to use Li Wuji opened his eyes, and found himself on a strange mountain, surrounded by dense trees, with the blazing sun warming his body uncomfortably. He hurriedly reached for his treasured saber at his side. But it was empty, he muttered. Not good. Then, after a few attempts to move, he realized that his body was unusually weak, without any strength left. He looked down at his wrinkled hands, and realized he had turned into an old man nearing his final years, without a trace of cultivation. Right in front of him, several lines of text appeared. Hello, trial participant. You will play the role of an ordinary old man in a mountain teeming with wild beasts, and find a way to survive, until your unexpected death. Li Wuji was so angry he almost cursed out loud. This challenge is way too much. This body is at least 70 years old, so weak, and you want me to survive in the wilderness? This is a joke. He put his hand on his chest, trying to regulate his breathing, almost dying on the spot. Finally, he managed to calm down, broke off a branch to use as a staff, and carefully moved forward. His priority was to find food and water. On the first day, he tried to circulate his energy to cultivate, but his body was too weak. Even using breathing techniques to improve his physique had minimal effect, but it was better than nothing. As night fell, the cold wind bit through him. He huddled by the fire, struggling to get through the long night. The next day, he continued to search for food, crafting tools, relying on his skills to catch fish, roasting and eating them for a meal. He encountered wild beasts several times, but managed to avoid them thanks to the instinct of a saber cultivator. The third day, the fourth day, then the fifth and sixth days, he struggled to survive. His body became slightly stronger, thanks to regular activity and breathing exercises. He was relieved, thinking that as long as no surprises happened, he could endure. But on the 88th day, disaster struck. A venomous snake lunged down from a tree, biting him hard on the butt. Li Wuji knew there was no way out. He frantically grabbed the snake, opened his mouth and bit back, ultimately ending in mutual destruction. Meanwhile, other trial participants were also undergoing their tests. Most died within 30 days, and a few managed to hold on for over 50 days. In the courtyard, Liu Huangchu observed the trial participants, watching them use their frail bodies to survive in the dangerous mountains. He stroked his beard and laughed, saying, "This trial tests adaptability and intuition. Even if they had heaven-defying abilities before, here they can only play the role of a mortal old man, at best a little stronger than an average person." He believed that surviving over 100 days was already top-notch, 150 days was rare, and surpassing 200 days was legendary. But as time went on, the wild beasts became stronger, the dangers increased, and the difficulty was no different from hell. While speaking, he suddenly remembered Ye Junlin and checked how long he had survived, only to find that this person hadn't even entered yet. At that moment, Ye Junlin was just watching the pillars of light gradually fade, knowing that the trial participants had finished one by one. Many people came out, eagerly recounting their experiences. Some were bitten to death by wolves, some died after falling just 2 days in, and some choked to death on fish bones. Everyone was trying to outdo each other in how tragically they died. Ye Junlin saw Li Wuji coming out and asked how he died. Li Wuji coughed and said, "I was bitten to death by a venomous snake, but before I died, I bit it back so it died with me." He said it with pride. Ye Junlin patted him on the shoulder, saying that was brutal, then turned to ask Zhu Wuhen. Zhu Wuhen forced a smile and admitted that he was struck to death by lightning, but he had survived for 160 days, still feeling a little smug. Li Wuji heard this and gave him a thumbs up. while Ye Junlin wasn't sure if it was difficult or not. So he asked again, and was told that it was indeed extremely difficult. Zhu Wuhen smiled and advised him to try it himself. Thinking that Ye Junlin probably couldn't do as well as him, Ye Junlin nodded, saying, "Sounds lit." Then he stepped into the pillar of light, entering the trial world. Seeing this, Liu Huangshu laughed, his eyes full of interest, saying, "He wants to see how Zhu Junlin will die this time." Zhu Junlin opened his eyes, and what came into view was a dense forest, soft and porous soil under his feet. Golden sunlight shining through the leaves, forming mottled patches of light, fresh air, and the sounds of birds and insects echoing everywhere. According to the description, he was playing the role of an elderly man who had to survive in this dangerous forest. He tried to move his body, taking a few steps, the stiff and helpless feeling reminding him of when he first transmigrated, entering an old and sick body. Only this time he was a little healthier, at least moving around more comfortably. Looking up at the round and large sun, he chuckled and said, "This kind of experience is too realistic, just a little bit away from being a real transmigration." He tried to call upon the system, but his mind was just a silent void. Clearly the system couldn't interfere here. He shrugged, thinking it wasn't so bad, considering it as a stroll. Living another day was a bonus. Breaking off a branch as a cane, he walked while contemplating his next plan. Recalling the wilderness survival shows he'd watched, and the role-playing games he'd played, now personally experiencing the feeling was even fresher. He told himself to find food and water first, then craft tools, build a shelter, or find a cave to spend the night. But he also understood that it was easier said than done, especially with this old body. Everything became a hassle. He decided to find some wild berries to eat. For now, meat wasn't a priority yet, so he tried his best to open his cloudy eyes and search. Just then, a white blur suddenly shot out of the bushes. Taking a closer look, it was a plump rabbit, causing a hint of joy to flash across his old face, but then turned to disappointment. Because with this body, he wasn't even sure he could catch up to it. But before he could sigh, the white rabbit ran straight into a tree, hitting its head and dying on the spot. Fresh blood flowed out, a faint fishy smell in the air. Zhu Junlin stood dumbfounded, thinking, "It's dead just like that." Then slowly walked over, looking at the rabbit, lying still without breath, silent for a long time. A moment later, the branches were piled up, the fire blazed brightly, the skinned rabbit was skewered and roasted, the smell of meat gradually spread. He shook his head, regretting that if there was some seasoning the flavor would be more perfect. But in this wild mountain forest, where could he find it? Thinking this, he laughed again. It's lucky to have something to eat. One should know how to be content. As soon as he finished speaking, a roar echoed. He was startled and hid behind a tree, looking out to see a huge black bear being chased by a swarm of honeybees. It ran and screamed, looking extremely distressed. He breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be just a useless scare, but then quickly noticed that the black bear had exposed a beehive while running. A few minutes later, the roasted rabbit was covered with a layer of golden honey, the sweet aroma spreading everywhere. Zhu Junlin took a bite. The meat was tender, sweet, crispy, blended with the fragrant honey, an unforgettable taste after just one bite. After eating, he felt very satisfied. Looking up at the darkening sky, his heart began to worry. Where will I sleep tonight? Suddenly he saw a cave nearby. Just like that, he ate and drank his fill, then went into the cave to rest. In the following days, whenever he felt hungry, all kinds of small animals would come and knock their heads against the tree to satisfy this old man's hunger. On the 8th day, wanting to stretch his muscles and bones, he sharpened a branch and went to the river to try spearing fish. Originally thought this would be very difficult, but as soon as he stepped on the rock, raising the branch high to prepare, the water suddenly rippled. Schools of fish, not knowing when they had gathered, crowded and pushed each other, spitting bubbles, raising their small heads, and naively looking forward to him stabbing down. Behind them were shrimp and crabs as well, all kinds, causing him to angrily shout, "You guys are too much! I came here to experience hardship survival, not to enjoy myself. Are you trying to make me decadent?" Half an hour later, a seafood feast was smoking on the rock. Zhu Junlin sat cross-legged, sniffing the aroma, and sighed. Days passed. Relying on his tough spirit and some survival skills, he not only lived well in the mountains, but also lived a fulfilling life, lacking nothing. In his free time he crafted tools and built structures. After much effort, he finally turned hardship into abundance. If this process was witnessed by a weak person, they would probably cry. Then on the 180th day, in the deep forest sheltered from the wind and sun, a spacious thatched house stood tall, surrounded by neat terraced fields. The creaking door opened. An old man with white hair walked out, his face rosy and healthy. Greeting the morning sun and breathing the fresh air, a kind smile on his lips, he softly said, "I'm starting to like this place. The feeling of returning to nature and living a simple life is really not bad." Seeing this scene, Liu Huangshu next door was stunned, his heart filled with indescribable shock, because in his mind, an old and weak man living alone in a dangerous mountain forest was a life-or-death challenge. A slip-up could cost his life, but this place had turned into a place of enjoyment, with food and drink and peaceful days. How could this be called a survival game? In the outer world square, countless cone-shaped Kui shadows dimmed and disappeared. All those who came out of the trial were listless, everyone worried about how many days they had survived. In the crowd was a tall and slender figure in red, sleeves fluttering, a beautiful face, but a hint of unwillingness flashed in his eyes. Li Wuji immediately rushed over, asking in a low voice, "Hong, senior brother, how many days did you survive? Why did you die?" Hong Tianye sighed. 206 days, bitten to death by a pack of wolves when I went out. Li Wuji gasped, giving a thumbs up in admiration. "Damn, that's a long time." Hong Tianye gritted his teeth. "I could clearly have lived longer." Memories of the hardship in the mountains flooded his mind, Every precaution had been taken to the extreme, but in the end he was still attacked by a pack of ferocious wolves, resentment turning into a flame in his heart. Clearly, as long as there were no surprises, living a few hundred more days wouldn't be a problem. But strangely, after the 200th day, the beast seemed to mutate, both powerful and appearing with high frequency, hard to guard against. He had used all his caution, even transforming his old body into a strong physique like an adult's, with demonic secret techniques. He could say he did everything he could, but was still caught off guard by unexpected changes. In the end, he held a torch and desperately slashed, falling into the pack of wolves. Their calls led to waves of their kind rushing back, surrounding and tearing him to death. Thinking back to that scene, Hong Tianye clenched his fists, his lips trembling with anger. An ordinary person could never have survived there. He proudly growled in his mind. For me to have survived that many days is the extreme. On the 200th day, in the deep forest, all the wild beasts suddenly mutated, their eyes bloodshot, their temperaments becoming extremely ferocious. They rushed about like the wind, roaring and searching for prey. Suddenly, a heavy thud echoed. Leaves rustling down, a dead rabbit appeared beneath a large tree. Zhu Feng was still waiting by the tree as usual, muttering to himself, a look of surprise on his aged face. What's going on? How could a harmless rabbit cause such a heavy tremor that the tree shakes? If it bumped into my belly, wouldn't I cough up blood and die? He thought in fear. A vague feeling arose in his heart that the mountains and forests were changing. Suddenly, a low tiger's roar, like thunder, exploded, causing his entire body to bristle, and cold sweat broke out. There's a tiger next to me! Unbelievable! A few days ago there weren't any threatening beasts within 100 meters, but now a tiger has appeared so close, this is too dangerous. The roar grew closer and closer. Zhu Feng tensed his whole body, carrying the rabbit, standing motionless, goosebumps rising all over him. To be honest, it had been a long time since he had faced such a risk of death, because outside, he always had a golden finger, superior cultivation, and unparalleled divine techniques. Since his debut, he had never been defeated. But in this illusory world, he couldn't use his strength to stop the tiger. Danger, too dangerous. It's been so long since I've experienced this feeling. He briefly thought about the scene of sleeping peacefully and never waking up, but immediately shook his head violently. His eyes flashed with determination. No. How can I sit and wait for death? That's definitely not the way of a transmigrator. If that beast dares to come, I'll directly stab it with his sharpened wooden stick, slice its belly open, and let it bleed to death. At this moment, the white-haired old man seemed to have made a decision. His eyes flashed with fierce light, holding the sharpened wooden branch like a sword, preparing to act. But right at that moment, a wild bear's roar came from the other side, the sound filled with intense hostility. The fierce tiger, following the scent, was about to find Zhu Feng when it was blocked and provoked by a huge bear from the bushes. The tiger's eyes flared with anger, roaring with an earth-shattering sound, shaking the birds in the forest into a panicked flight. The bear grunted and stepped forward, its eyes overflowing with fighting spirit, wanting a life-or-death battle. The fierce tiger's attention was drawn, and it immediately prepared for a desperate brawl. The two beasts were about to erupt into an earth-shattering showdown. Seeing this, Zhu Feng was no longer in the mood to watch the show, hurriedly carrying his spoils and running home. On the way, the roars of beasts echoed continuously, causing his whole body to be cold and trembling with fear, unable to help but cry out in his heart, "Damn it, this is like walking straight into hell. The guy who set the rules of this game is definitely jealous of my leisurely life." Arriving home, he was so flustered that he didn't even close the wooden door tightly. Although he knew this was just a trial, death was nothing. But the deep immersion made him feel for himself, because no one wanted to experience being bitten to death by a beast. Seeing this, Liu Huangchu finally smiled with satisfaction, stroked his beard, and muttered, "This is what I originally intended, seeing you living too comfortably. I even began to suspect there was a problem with the trial mechanism. Clearly this was supposed to be a difficult test, but it had been turned into child's play." Seeing Zhu Feng finally know fear, Liu Huangchu felt relieved, and a surge of heroic spirit rose in his heart. He burst into hearty laughter. "Little brat, you're going to suffer next." Sure enough, from the 200th day onwards, Zhu Feng lived in a state of restless sleep, fearful at night, afraid that wild beasts would randomly break in and tear him apart. By the 205th day, his nerves were weakened, his face haggard and gaunt, as if he had aged several decades. So many days of tension made it difficult for him to rest properly, and at his age, constant insomnia was like pushing himself to the brink of death. He sighed. "Oh well, if I can't live, I'll just die." He was about to say some mocking words when a childish voice rang out, "Grandpa!" He startled and turned around. How could there be a child's voice in the deep forest, and a child at that? Then the sound echoed, "Grandpa, we're here." Following the voice, Zhu Feng stared blankly, speechless, his lips trembling, unable to utter a word. You are." Another voice rang out, "Grandpa, don't be afraid, we will protect you." The voice came from a bright red gourd hanging on a vine. Around it were 6 gourds of different colors, glittering with spiritual light. Zhu Feng took a trembling step forward, looking up in awe at the 7 spiritual gourds, a familiar melody from childhood suddenly resounding in his head. Hulawa, hulawa, 1 vine, 7 flowers, not afraid of wind or rain. La 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 la, that's right, this familiar scene suddenly brought Zhu Feng back to his childhood. Looking at the 7 graceful gourds hanging on the vine, a warm feeling rose in his heart. He stroked his white beard. Smiling, he said, "It seems that old people who normally grow some flowers and plants not only exercise their bodies, but at the crucial moment can also receive a pleasant surprise." But right after that, a rustling sound came from the forest, branches snapping, and a ferocious beast rushed out. Before Zhu Feng could react, the 7 gourds on the vine all vibrated at the same time, and the red gourd angrily shouted, "Beast, don't even think about hurting my family." With that, it broke free from the vine and fell to the ground, a fiery red light erupting. When the light dissipated, a little doll in red clothes appeared, strong and sturdy, with a childish face but bright eyes full of spiritual energy, gently landing in front of him, clenching his small fist, and shouting, "I'll stomp you to death." One stomp, and the sound exploded. The giant beast was instantly crushed to bits. If it were any regular old man, he'd probably have fainted from fright. But Ye Junlin just laughed and clapped. "Dawa, nice one. That felt so good. You think you can bully me just because I'm old? I've got grandsons." Suddenly, roars echoed from all directions. It seemed the commotion had attracted all the beasts nearby. They were swarming over. Dakwa frowned and said seriously, "Grandpa, just stand there. I'll handle the rest." With that, he shot out, his body instantly growing mountain-sized, standing tall and shaking 100 meters of earth and sky. He stood tall and glared down. "You think you can come here to die?" As soon as he finished speaking, he stomped down hard. Dozens of mad bison were instantly crushed, their flesh and blood splattering everywhere. Then, he kicked out, sending a pack of vicious dogs flying into the air, blood spraying everywhere. While Dawa was rampaging, wolf howls echoed from another direction. Countless red eyes gleamed in the forest. Packs of bloodthirsty gray wolves squeezed out, drooling and staring at the old man, as if a voice was urging in their heads, "Eat him! Devour him! Good stuff, still coming, huh?" Ye Junlin's eyes twitched. According to this messed up setup, unless the old man can cultivate, how else is he supposed to deal with these mutated beasts? The wolves howled continuously, gray shadows rushing forward like the wind, fangs sharp enough to tear apart refined iron. But the little green gourd immediately spat out fierce flames, the scorching fire causing the wolves to cry out miserably. The golden gourd charged straight into the pack, its body like bronze and iron, fists and feet flying. The other gourds also used their divine powers, working together to wipe out the beasts. Half an hour later, the orange gourd used his telescopic eyes to scout around, listened for any movement, and then breathed a sigh of relief, reporting that there was no danger for now. Dawa ran over to ask Grandpa if he was all right. The air was thick with the stench of blood, and the ground was littered with the corpses of beasts. Ye Junlin looked around and then laughed. "Grandpa's doing great. I can finally sleep soundly tonight." The little gourds obediently promised to keep watch and prepare food. Ye Junlin smiled and patted each of their little heads, and said kindly, "Grandpa's so lucky to have you guys here. I can finally enjoy the good life." But in his heart, he thought, "With you little guys around, I can continue to lie back and pretend to be useless." But when the words came to his mouth, he changed his tone to fit the character he was playing. From then on, with the 7 gourd bros protecting him, he swaggered through the mountains. The beasts that came were no longer a threat. Thanks to the 2 with telescopic eyes and sharp ears keeping watch, they would report any movement immediately. Thanks to Dawa carrying him, even steep mountain slopes became flat roads. On the 250th day, when attacked by flying birds, the green gourd immediately spat fire, roasting the whole flock. The aroma spread, making Ye Junlin laugh with delight as he ate. On the 370th day, thanks to Dawa's strength, he built a tall, fortress-like house, complete with a swimming pool filled with water from the 5th gourd. The old man and his grandkids played happily. On the 1000th day, he wore tiger skin, held a sword forged by one of his grandsons, and stood on the city wall, looking out over the vast mountains and forests. Looking back on the years, he felt that he had been able to live so well because of his hard work. Ye Junlin survived to the end, living out his full lifespan, and died peacefully. Seeing this, Liu Huangchu stood still as a statue, his mind blank, his face constantly changing, from shock to disbelief, from confusion to amazement. He never thought the second trial would turn out like this. Others were scared and running, but you were leisurely cultivating, eating, and drinking well. But what the hell were those 7 gourd bros? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. You're basically flipping the table in the middle of a desperate situation, living to old age and dying peacefully in that terrifying place. Isn't that defying the heavens? Too scary, really too scary. In Liu Huangchu's eyes, Ye Junlin was no longer at the age of 100. In a candlelit room, he was an old man with white hair, a haggard face, and a weak breath, lying on the bed, with 7 Calabash brothers beside him, their eyes brimming with tears. Dakawa held his hand and cried loudly, and the other brothers also burst into tears. In their hearts, the old man with white hair was their closest person, their sky. Ye Junlin was filled with sadness, knowing that this was just an illusion. But the years spent together had turned into true affection, and now he had to leave. His heart was extremely uncomfortable. He trembled and said his thanks. "Thank you for being by my side. Thank you for going through these years with me. In the real world, I will always remember you." Hearing this, the 7 little Calabash brothers cried even more miserably, shouting, "Grandpa, you can't die!" They thought the old man was delirious, but Zhu Feng could feel the impending doom. His eyes gradually became calm, and a satisfied smile bloomed on the corner of his mouth. Then his eyes dimmed, and his old body completely lost its vitality. The room erupted in deafening cries. The 7 Calabash brothers painfully bid farewell forever to their kind and diligent old man. Ye Junlin survived to the very end, reaching the end of his lifespan, and died peacefully in Anran. Seeing this, Liu Huangchu stood motionless like a statue, his mind blank, his face changing constantly, from surprise to astonishment, from daze to shock. He never thought that the second trial would turn out like this. Others were afraid and ran away, But you were calmly cultivating your temperament, eating and drinking your fill. Lecturing was barely acceptable. But what the hell were those 7 Calabash brothers? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I really wouldn't believe it. What you've done is no different from flipping the table in the middle of despair, living to old age and dying peacefully in that terrifying place. Isn't this defying heaven? Too terrifying, really too terrifying. In Liu Huangshu's eyes, Xu Feng was no longer a person, but a kind of monster that had never appeared before. Meanwhile, outside the square, the trial participants were all buzzing with discussion, some pointing in shock, others muttering in a daze, chattering endlessly. Why hasn't he come out yet? How can an old man without cultivation talent survive in the Nightmare Mountain? Could it be that he's cultivating immortality inside? Each word made many people's heads go numb. Hong Tianye completely denied it, thinking that with such a setup, it was impossible. But in his heart, disbelief arose, because he knew very well that after 200 days in the mountain, it was absolutely difficult for mortals to survive unscathed. Just then, the shining light disappeared, meaning that the last person had completed the trial. Under the gaze of 10,000 people, a figure in a black robe embroidered with golden patterns, with shimmering white hair fluttering in the wind, stepped out. Unlike the others who came out tired and listless, his godlike handsome face exuded an unprecedented tranquility, like the autumn wind sweeping through, peaceful and harmonious. The crowd immediately rioted, exclaiming endlessly, shouting in unison, "Ye Senior is out!" Hong Tianye was shocked. Unexpectedly, after coming out, this guy had such a reaction. He cried out in dismay, "Shizun, you finally revealed yourself!" Li Wuji saw the silver-haired youth appear, and hurriedly greeted him, anxiously asking, "How many days were you in there, and how did you finally die?" This was also the question that everyone wanted to know. All eyes were focused on Ye Junlin, full of doubt and incomprehension. Ye Junlin remained calm, seemingly still immersed in the role of the old man. He smiled warmly at Li Wuji, and slowly replied, "I died of old age." Died of old age? The crowd was immediately stunned. No one could utter a word. Zhu Wuyin was the first to regain his senses. He pointed tremblingly, his voice faltering with horror. Didn't you die a natural death?" These words made everyone's pupils contract. They looked at Ye Junlin as if he were a monster. Because being able to fake death in such a terrifying place, wasn't that living a full life and then leaving peacefully? Thinking of this, everyone looked at each other, their eyes filled with boundless shock. The whole place was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. It must be known that this was no longer a matter of how many days he lived, but that Senior Yi had lived for dozens of years in the Nightmare Mountain. Hong Tianye's face was blank. He absolutely did not expect the result to be like this. This difference was really too absurd. No different from a villager who had just stepped onto the path of cultivation, while the old neighbor had secretly become an immortal. A world of difference. Zhu Wuyin suppressed his shock and humbly asked, "Senior Ye, may I presumptuously ask, how did you do it? What's the secret inside?" Li Wuji also eagerly interjected, "That's right, Shizun. The second round is over. Please tell us the secret to passing the trial." Everyone perked up their ears, their curiosity rising fiercely, like claws scratching in their hearts, extremely unbearable. Ye Junlin nodded and said seriously, "Actually, the secret is very simple. Just relax your mind. Plant some flowers and grass, and then you will get 7 magical gourds, and from then on you can dominate the mountain and live a leisurely life." Everyone was speechless, their expressions stiff. How could they relax their minds and grow grass in that situation? And what were the 7 magical gourds? Shu Wuyin took a few steps back, looking at Ye Junlin in disbelief, his lips trembling. "This is also called simple?" Ye Junlin nodded seriously. "It is." Zhu Wuyin was silent. Then a flash of insight suddenly appeared in his heart. Could this be the will of the trial? To test whether people in despair can maintain a peaceful and calm attitude in the face of life and death? If that's the case, then everything is clear. He took a deep breath, clasped his hands, and sighed. "Senior Ye, I am enlightened." These words were sincere, not at all false. Just the fact that he could still peacefully raise flowers and grass in the mountain was enough to make him admire him greatly. Everyone around him also sighed. So we went down the wrong path. Everyone shook their heads regretfully. Liu Huangshu watched this scene, and the corners of his mouth twitched straight. He was really helpless. He could only sigh that this guy's luck was too strong. Just then, a beam of immortal light 2 meters wide descended from the sky, covering Ye Junlin's entire body. The hazy light was like immortal energy from the 9 heavens, and a supreme majesty appeared around him, like an immortal king descending to the mortal world, causing the whole place to gasp in shock. Swish! The crowd immediately boiled over. Zhu Wuyin exclaimed enviously. Receiving 2 consecutive blessings of immortal techniques, Senior Ye's future is definitely limitless, and his immortal path will be smooth. Hong Tianye was so angry that he wanted to explode. He clenched his fists in his sleeves. His head seemed to be bleeding. The first trial was like this. The second trial was also like this. Could it be that this trial really has no part for him? Amidst the cheers, Ye Junlin only slightly curled his lips. Useless buffs. With no use whatsoever. Even if his aptitude is trash, his foundation is garbage. As long as he has the golden finger, he will become stronger when facing the strong, and he can defeat anyone who is 1 realm higher than him. So what difference does good or bad talent make? A surprised cultivator muttered, "Am I hallucinating? Why does Senior Yi seem to hate it so much? This is the blessing of immortal techniques in the legend." "If it were me, I would have been overjoyed," someone else awkwardly replied. Perhaps Senior Ye is not good at expressing joy. This detail made Liu Huangshu's eyes widen again. "Kid, what kind of expression is that? Are you looking down on my rewards? This is a blessing that even immortal venerables would be moved by." You have a 1/10th chance of being promoted to an eternal, unique, immortal emperor. Such a great feat is only bestowed by me in the world, but it's hated by a junior to this extent, causing Liu Huangshu to doubt his life. Could it really be that there's something wrong with me? But no matter. The next one is the third trial, which is also the final one of this trial. This is what I painstakingly created back then. It is absolutely the most unique idea in the myriad worlds. Thinking of this, his eyes lit up, like a mechanism master who was fascinated and wanted to show off his most beloved achievement. Just then, a majestic voice rang out in the air. This trial is over. All trial participants outside the top 100 are eliminated. As soon as the words fell, with a flash of light, most of the cultivators disappeared in an instant. They were teleported out of fallen immortal island, leaving exactly 100 people. Li Wuji clenched his fists, his stiff face showing excitement. That's great! I wasn't eliminated! Hong Tianye glanced at him and said indifferently. Haha, you say that as if you have a chance if you stay. The majestic sound of the Hong bell rang again. Now, the final trial begins. A mysterious crack broke open in the void ahead, filled with milky white light, as if something was about to pour out. The white crack grew larger and larger, as if being pushed open by a fierce force, and then, with a swish, it expanded into a cave entrance. The milky white light surged, as if it wanted to fill the entire space. The voice rang out again. Next, please enter the passage in order. Hearing this, everyone stepped into the passage, filled with apprehension, mixed with anticipation. In the ranks, there was a young figure wearing a black robe, his face as gloomy as rain, his eyes flashing with cruelty. It was Chen Xiao. He gritted his teeth, filled with hatred, and muttered in the darkness like a venomous snake flicking its tongue. Ye Junlin, consider yourself lucky. You made me lose 2 immortal law blessings for nothing, but this time I won't lose again. As long as I win the final trial, I will get the inheritance of fallen immortal island. At that time, your life, I can take it whenever I want. Stepping into the passage, everyone felt the world spinning, and when they opened their eyes again, they were stunned in surprise. What is this? Ye Junlin looked at the scene before him, his expression turning strange, never expecting to see this kind of thing in the world of cultivation. Despite having prepared himself mentally, he couldn't help but feel it was too novel, because what was laid out before his eyes was a virtual game interface, where you could sculpt your face, change your hairstyle, name your character, even exactly like a famous game from his past life. Just as the group was still bewildered, a majestic voice echoed, "Welcome to the new reflection world. To ensure fairness, everyone can customize their appearance and participate in the battle using masks, so as to avoid retaliation after it ends. After choosing, you will ride a celestial ship towards Buji Island. The island has 6 areas, and everyone is free to choose their landing point. Equipment, pills, talismans, and cultivation techniques must be picked up or obtained by killing monsters. As time passes, deadly energy will turn into a circle, gradually engulfing the entire island. You must enter the safe zone while fighting each other. In the end, the survivor will be the heir to fallen immortal island." As the words fell, the entire group was shaken, everyone bewildered, having never heard of such a trial, feeling like a new world had been opened. Ye Junlin was silent for a long time before finally uttering with difficulty, "Good heavens, are you trying to play, eating chicken, with me?" It was no wonder he was complaining, because this kind of setup was clearly the famous Battle Royale game from his past life. Soon, the cultivators began excitedly choosing their appearances, sculpting their faces, and naming their characters. Someone chuckled darkly, saying, "Worth it. Even if I return empty-handed, experiencing this novel gameplay is worth it," a female cultivator said calmly. "I must sculpt myself an absolutely beautiful face worthy of my flower-like appearance." Ling Wuji looked at the character interface, a feeling of itchiness rising in his heart. In fact, he had long had a bold idea. This time, he would definitely choose a female character, then adjust the body proportions to be strong, looking both beautiful and heroic, with a touch of mischievousness. After setting up the character, he pondered for a long time, and finally solemnly named it Supreme First Blade God. As for Ye Junlin, he was lazy. The character he chose had a bald head, a thin figure, and a face that was distorted into a wretched appearance, looking like he was asking for hate and love to be beaten. And for the name, he casually wrote a few words, "Invincible so lonely." Immediately after everyone had finished choosing, a cold announcement rang out, without a trace of emotion. "Entering the ranks of reserves, trial participants please prepare." White light burst forth, the entire space blinding. When everyone opened their eyes again, before them was a vast celestial ship, its majestic aura shrouding the clouds, piercing through the layers of space, heading towards a mysterious island. Male and female cultivators gathered on the deck, and thanks to the disguised appearances, they were more relaxed, no longer awkward. Some pointed and praised loudly. "That woman's image is very special." Following the direction of their gaze, a tall figure appeared, muscles bulging like forged steel, a fierce yang energy erupting. However, what made it difficult for people to reconcile was that his face was as pretty as a maiden, with big, lively eyes and a small, cherry-like mouth, looking no different from an innocent girl. Someone couldn't help but tease, "Why are that young lady's pectoral muscles so prominent? What's it to you?" The person snorted coldly, kicking him to the ground with one foot. "I like it that way." Noticing the surrounding gazes of surprise, the one with the bulging pectoral muscles puffed out their chest even more, raised their head high, and walked away proudly, smug in their heart. "Ha! You can't guess who I am." Just then, a teasing laugh rang out from the side. "Ha ha, surname Li. I didn't expect you to have such a special hobby." Li Wuji's footsteps faltered, his face stiffening, and he slowly turned around. Beside him, a young man leaned against the railing with his arms crossed. with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes, a handsome appearance, and a hint of sarcasm hidden in his eyes. Li Wuji quickly waved his hand. Ah, I'm not surnamed Li, don't talk nonsense. The young man's eyes swept over the title above his head, Supreme First Blade God, and looked straight into his eyes, the corners of his lips curving up meaningfully. How do you think I figured it out? Li Wuji, this is bad. I've met someone smart, am I that obvious? Moreover, this person even called himself, this seat? Li Wuji forced himself to calm down, looked up at the arrogant words above the young man's head. Only I exist. Combined with the familiar tone, he replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Hong senior brother, we're all in the same family, why expose each other? Hong Tianye glanced at him, and said with disdain, stop pretending to be close. I'm just telling the truth. You, with your thick eyebrows and big eyes, are actually so perverted if your identity is exposed. This might be the biggest stain of your life. You? Li Wuji was like being struck by lightning, his expression becoming even more awkward, but after thinking for a while he sneered. Are you trying to scare me? Where's the evidence? Just based on the name above my head? That's too arbitrary. As long as I stubbornly deny it, who can prove it? Saying that, he thrust out his pectoral muscles, glared with eyes as big as copper bells, with a provocative expression. What? If you're not convinced, bite me. The corners of Hong Tianye's lips twitched slightly, admiringly sighing. This guy is really stubborn. Just as Li Wuji was still putting on that strange appearance, a cry of surprise suddenly rang out from the crowd. I've never seen a face that looked so deserving of a beating. Instantly, countless eyes turned to a slender figure in the distance. His head was shaved bald, shining brightly under the sun as if glowing, and his face had a wretched smile, extremely provocative. No matter which angle you looked from, anyone who saw it wanted to rush up and punch him, especially the words above his head, invincible so lonely. It really made people angry. The atmosphere instantly tensed up, and a murderous aura filled the air. Hong Tianye frowned and muttered, why does this seat find this temperament so familiar? Li Wuji clenched his fists, his teeth grinding. Who is this guy that looks so annoying? If it weren't still in the reserve stage, where we're not allowed to fight, I would have rushed up and beaten him up. Ye Junlin stood there, allowing the unfriendly gazes to sweep over him, only shrugging indifferently, silently sighing in his heart. Alas, there's no way. I'm indeed too handsome. He stood behind the railing, looking at the vast sea of clouds, vaguely seeing a huge island appear, which was Buji Island in the sky. In his mind, a map appeared, showing the entire layout of the island, with 6 areas: Ancient Sword Tomb, Chaos Blade Valley, Mist Bone Forest, Ice Frost Plains, Scarlet Eyebrow Mountain, and Crescent Moon Lake. When the celestial ship completely flew over the area of Buji Island, the trial participants were forced to choose a landing location. Ye Junlin stroked his chin, hesitating slightly. Where should I jump down to in a moment? Because choosing where to land would directly affect his future development, from finding cultivation techniques and weapons to a convenient retreat. Li Wuji, on the other hand, looked resolute. He said he would jump down to Chaos Blade Valley, because he was a blade cultivator, and would of course choose a place with many cultivation techniques and weapons related to blades. He turned to ask Hong Tianye where he planned to go, but Hong Tianye only said coldly that he would keep it a secret, not wanting to reveal it. Li Wuji laughed lightly and teased, while Hong Tianye responded with disdain, believing that only the weak worried, and he believed that as long as he lived to the end, he would naturally prove his strength. He had originally experienced life and death in the demonic path, had rich survival experience, so he was even more wary of the people around him, and had already planned to choose a secret place, silently develop, and eliminate opponents step by step to grow stronger. In this virtual world, their actual cultivation techniques could not be used. Everything had to be found from the beginning, and only by collecting enough fragments could they be combined into a complete cultivation technique and be learned immediately. Equipment was also divided into clear levels, from low to high being white, green, blue, purple, orange, and gold, and pills were divided into healing and mana restoration. Talismans had many functions, such as invisibility, running fast, or weakening enemies. And there were also mounts that could be ridden, even participating in battle. All of this information automatically appeared in the minds of the trial participants, so that they could easily adapt. Hong Tianye did not hesitate, crossing the railing, his figure like a large bird in the air, rushing away, flying straight towards the place he had decided in his heart. Li Wuji also did not hesitate, shouting loudly and jumping down, directly choosing Chaos Blade Valley to develop. As the number of people on the ship became less and less, Ye Junlin finally grinned, his bald head shining, his expression funny, his arms spread wide, his back facing outwards, imitating the action in a classic game, slowly leaning back and falling down. The action was originally very cool, but with that funny face plus the bald head, the whole scene became extremely ridiculous. Falling straight from 10,000 meters, the wind howled in Bai's ears, and the feeling of weightlessness washed over him. Behind him, a pair of silver wings materialized, gently fluttering, emitting a crystal clear light. He landed safely on the ground, revealing a vast, jade-green crescent-shaped lake before him, surrounded by lush vegetation and fresh air. Indeed, one of the 6 Crescent Lake regions, floating above the lake's surface, were clusters of light, all fragments of cultivation techniques, requiring assembly to obtain the complete manual. Immediately afterward, 5 figures plunged down, skimming the water like dragonflies. Upon seeing the orbs of light, they greedily rushed to snatch them. Mad laughter rang out, mixed with curses and threats. The group of men were no different from starving stray dogs, vying for every fragment, hoping to quickly piece together a technique and immediately kill their opponents. Ye Junlin stood by the lake, watching the scene, simply shook his head, and turned to enter the deep forest. Just then, a middle-aged man finished assembling a technique. His eyes were cold, his fist wrapped in crackling purple lightning, He roared loudly, his fist imprint like a furious venomous dragon, thunder exploding. A young man couldn't dodge in time, was blasted away dozens of meters, his body charred black before disappearing, leaving behind a box floating on the water, containing the fragments he had collected. The middle-aged man laughed viciously, continuing his attacks. 2 more people were killed, turning into floating boxes. He even picked up some equipment. An ambition began to stir in his heart when his eyes suddenly fell on a figure in the distance. The middle-aged man saw a familiar figure, the buzz-cut head with the goofy face. He immediately smirked and charged fiercely, shouting for Ye Junlin to stop. As the figure turned around, the familiar mocking face was revealed, but he was no longer wearing ordinary blue clothes, but a rare set of imposing and cold black gold armor, holding a gleaming great sword in his hand, his body enveloped in a faint purple glow. He had collected a complete set of rare purple equipment and several earth-rank moves, his aura overflowing. The middle-aged man instantly felt his hair stand on end, and his whole body turn cold. What the heck? His luck is insane. The middle-aged man forced a smile, the threatening words turning into a tremble before he could even say them, only managing to stammer, "Be careful." Hearing this, Ye Junlin nodded, smiling faintly, and said, "You're such a good person. We clearly don't know each other, and yet you intentionally ran over to remind me to be careful in the middle of such a fierce battle. There really are still many good people in the world." The middle-aged man wiped the cold sweat from his brow, cupped his hands, and forced a smile. "Invincible bro, if there's nothing else, this little bro will take his leave. Let's never meet again." Then he turned tail and ran like he was fleeing from the plague god, but just as his foot was about to step away, the ear-splitting sound of a sword whistling through the air rang out behind him, its momentum like a tornado, sweeping away the grass and trees along the way. The middle-aged man frantically erected an earth shield, runes lighting up, its aura as heavy as a mountain, but he couldn't withstand it in time. The shield shattered, countless sword energies pierced through him, and he cried tears of despair. A second later, turning into a box, ending the battle there, Ye Junlin, clad in black gold armor, walked over step by step, purple light flowing around him. He sneered, "Hey, did you really think I believed those words? Now I can comfortably open the box and empty all the fragments and treasures from the unlucky guy. Opening boxes after killing enemies is the essence of this battle royale game." As Ye Junlin continued to stroll around to kill time, he didn't realize that in the distance, on the treetops, there were several pairs of eyes intently watching him. On the trees, 4 men and 1 woman stood watching, the eyes of each person filled with both surprise and ambition. A man dressed elegantly, holding a feather fan, frowned slightly, complaining that Ye Junlin's luck was off the charts, having gathered so many rare purple equipment fragments in such a short time. He was understandably jealous, because his group, although strong, only had a few blue-grade fragments, and were still very far from assembling a complete set. Another companion glared, angrily calling Ye a punchable face, already harboring the intention to take him down. One person said that they would definitely teach him a lesson before he dropped. The girl in the team looked at Ye with longing, dreaming of taking the good stuff on his body. Although the others shook their heads knowing it wouldn't be easy, the elegant man revealed his plan. Their team had close combat fighters and long-range attackers. If they coordinated well, there might be a chance to win by a smaller force. The key was that he wouldn't hurt a fly. A girl in a fancy pink dress quickly stepped out, her walk exaggeratedly graceful, revealing a captivating charm. "What's up, pretty lady?" Xu Feng asked, his tone laced with curiosity, wanting to see what she was up to. "Invincible bro, this girl here," she said, clasping her hands in front of her chest, her charming face showing a hint of shyness. "I want to make a deal with you. Is it the decent kind?" "Well, how do I put it? Not exactly decent, per se." "Then why don't you spell it out for me?" Seeing Xu Feng's half-joking demeanor, the girl was both amused and afraid to laugh, fearing that a slip of the tongue would give her away. "Invincible bro, you know, we're in this virtual world, all the appearances are fake, no one knows who's who IRL, but the experience is totally real. I want to trade some useful stuff with you, and as for the reward, you can't." She paused deliberately, a suggestive smile on her face. "Like, you know what I mean. Is this the right setting for this?" Xu Feng raised an eyebrow, his eyes flicking to the words, "pickup artist," above her head, immediately understanding. "Yeah. Does something like this even need a specific setting?" the girl said, giving him a flirty look, her tone teasing. "All right," Xu Feng nodded, a slight smirk on his lips, responding with feigned interest. The woman was secretly delighted, thinking that he had finally fallen into her trap. No wonder he's called invincible. Lonely, he's truly a lonely soul, easy to seduce. She pretended to be shy. "Let's get started." But unexpectedly, Xu Feng threw a pill at her feet, his voice expectant and serious. "Give it to me. I want to see you do push-ups." The girl in the pink dress suddenly froze, her face blank, a big question mark seeming to appear above her head. "Wait, is there something wrong with you? I haven't even taken off my clothes yet. And he's telling me to do what now? You want me to do push-ups?" She blushed, her voice both embarrassed and angry. "Don't mess with me like that." "Is one pill not enough? I'll give you a few more." Xu Feng waved his hand, 6 shining pills rolling to her feet, looking like he was giving alms to a beggar. The girl in the pink dress's eyes widened. "Invincible bro, you misunderstand me." She tried to remain calm, her smile forced. "What I mean is, you can arrange things however you want. Feel free to make any requests. The bolder the better." Xu Feng nodded, as if he understood. "Oh, so that's what you meant." The girl in the pink dress immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "That's right, so let's hurry up and get started. Then do a few sets of sit-ups too," Xu Feng said nonchalantly. "You!" She was struck by lightning, her whole body trembling with anger. Seeing his teasing face, the fire in her heart burned even more fiercely. This bastard is obviously messing with me on purpose. The girl in the pink dress gritted her teeth, trying to suppress her anger and rising killing intent. According to the original plan, she only needed to use her beauty to make him fall into her gentle trap, and then take action when he was off guard. The success rate would be much higher. But this man wasn't following the script. Not only did he not fall for it, but he also made her exercise. Did he see through something? Or is he deliberately playing with me? Just when she was confused, a few pieces of high-grade, Suan-level cultivation manuals suddenly appeared at her feet. She looked up in shock, her voice trembling. Invincible, bro! You, I'm asking. Are you gonna do it or not? Xu Feng raised his chin, his tone no different from a rich guy showing off his wealth. To him, these cultivation manuals weren't worth a penny. The girl in the pink dress was silent, her eyes fluctuating violently. Finally, she bit her lip, bent down, and started doing push-ups, her soft body trembling slightly with the rhythm. There was no other way. This man was being too generous. At this time, the group of people who were preparing to take action were dumbfounded, completely unable to believe the scene before them. One of them stared, trembling, and asked, "What is pickup artist doing?" "She's actually doing push-ups," another exclaimed in surprise. "No, now she's even doing sit-ups." The refined man's forehead was covered with bulging veins, losing his usual composure, and he roared in anger. "Damn it, that bastard is deliberately mocking us. No need to wait any longer, let's go." With a whoosh, 4 figures rushed out at the same time, one drawing his bow and shooting an arrow, the black light flying like shooting stars, one raising his shield and rushing forward like a bulldozer, his momentum fierce, and one holding a dagger, using shadow steps to transform into an assassin and launch a sneak attack. Xu Feng smiled faintly, his voice mocking. "You've finally shown your faces." As soon as he saw the girl in the pink dress appear, he guessed that there were accomplices behind her, so he deliberately forced them to take action. Seeing that she was exposed, the girl in the pink dress immediately became ashamed and angry, and shouted, "How dare you mess with this old lady? I won't let you off." The silver whip in her hand lashed out, soft as a spirit snake, the wind whistling sharply, its power immense. But Xu Feng simply raised his great sword and slashed down with one stroke. The brilliant swordlight swept across, the silver whip shattering into pieces, the shock causing the woman to spit blood, both in pain and humiliated, and that mocking face made her tremble with anger. A tall man shouted, "Mountain-shattering ram." The giant shield in his hand was covered in earth-colored light, rushing forward like a collapsing mountain, dust billowing, its momentum unstoppable. Xu Feng shouted, his great sword chopping straight down, the sword energy colliding, a deafening explosion, the giant shield shattering, and the entire huge figure turning into a wooden box. One after another, black light arrows shot over, Xu Feng not even bothering to dodge, letting them hit his black gold armor, making clanging sounds like metal. Immediately afterwards, a sharp wind sounded behind him. He turned around and swung his sword, a fiery ring of sword energy rolling out. The assassin screamed miserably, his body shattered, falling right in front of him. Just then, the 6 talismans behind Ye Junlin lit up simultaneously. Black chi churned around him, and his body felt like it was being crushed by a demonic force, significantly weakening his condition. He frowned, and turned around to see Ru Yanan standing before him with a smug look and a cold laugh. "The 6-fold weakening has sealed you. How much strength do you have left?" He twirled his feather fan, unleashing a blinding white light. A low-grade, earth-rank spell shot straight toward Ye Junlin with supreme confidence. He believed that in this state the opponent couldn't even lift his blade, and would be severely injured by this attack, allowing him to inherit all of his resources, techniques, and equipment. But just as the radiance descended, Ye Junlin's body emitted a pure white light, dispelling all the black chi and purging all negative effects. Ru Yanan's eyes widened, and an ominous premonition arose in his heart. Boom! The spell was blocked by the sword, the energy exploded, and swirling light scattered across the forest. Ye Junlin stood firm as Mount Tai, a smirk on his lips, and said nonchalantly, "Too bad, I brought purification." You had purification, and didn't say so," Ru Yanan roared in anger, his heart aching. He had wasted 6 weakening talismans, only for the opponent to be saved by a purification talisman at the crucial moment. "My fault?" Ye Junlin shrugged, his voice indifferent. While looting, he had accidentally picked up a purification talisman, originally only considering it a spare, but unexpectedly, it was useful at the right moment, erasing all negative effects. "Are you kidding me?" Seeing the opponent's innocent act, Ru Yanan was about to explode with rage, ready to curse him out. But as soon as he sensed the towering sword chi, his expression froze, and he quickly changed his tone, his face panicked. "Invincible bro, spare me! Invincible bro, don't kill me!" The woman in the pink dress was so frightened that her face lost all color, and she looked at Ye Junlin's half-smiling, half-cold face, which was even more terrifying than a demon. "Why shouldn't I kill you? Just because you're pretty?" Ye Junlin smiled indifferently. The woman in the pink dress nodded repeatedly, her voice soft. "Yes, if Invincible bro is willing, I can serve you and help you alleviate your worries. Give me a chance, Invincible bro, give you a chance your mom." A sword slashed down, and the cold light tore through space. A deafening explosion shook the sky, the ground collapsed, and dust billowed. When the smoke cleared, only 5 wooden boxes lay there quietly. "You died peacefully, what are you doing?" Ye Junlin shook his head, gathered all the resources, swallowed a pill to restore his condition, slung his great sword over his shoulder, and walked away leisurely, humming a folk song. At the border between the Scarlet Brow Mountains and the misty cloud forest, there was an area hidden on the map, as if no one had ever known about it before. Boom! A huge azure lightning bolt, as thick as a pillar of the sky, suddenly descended, the thunderbolt containing a bizarre power, striking the armored beast guarding the cave entrance. Its body immediately cracked and its flesh tore, blood splattering everywhere, and acrid black smoke rose. The beast roared in pain, its scarlet eyes filled with rage. It dragged its huge, wounded body and swung its hand like a mace, smashing down. Boom! A black-clad youth was sent flying, sliding backward for dozens of yards, plowing 2 deep furrows into the ground. His handsome face was shrouded in darkness. His eyes flashed with anger, and his aura surged. Above his head, large black characters floated, as if declaring to the world, "I have the aptitude to become an immortal." This person was Chen Zhao, the holy son of the Feather Transformation sect, who had infiltrated the map. Upon entering, Chen Zhao originally only intended to collect light orbs, but he accidentally picked up a mysterious parchment map. It clearly marked the 6 divided areas of Puji Island. At first, he didn't find anything special about it, but the more he examined it, the more his heart trembled, because in that map, there was a hidden area between the Scarlet Brow Mountains and the Misty Cloud Forest that was not displayed on the public map. Its name was Dragon's Lair. According to the records, the Dragon's Lair contained secrets left behind by an ancient divine dragon, and anyone who could find it would inherit a portion of the divine dragon's power, enough to overwhelm all living beings on this island. Chen Xiao was extremely excited at the time. The location of the Dragon's Lair was only known to those who possessed the parchment map. This meant that the secret was the key in his hands, and no one else knew about it. With this in mind, Chen Xiao followed the instructions and arduously advanced toward the Dragon's Lair. Despite encountering countless monsters blocking his path, he finally found the entrance. But just as he was about to step inside, a powerful armored beast appeared to guard the cave entrance, forcing him to fight desperately. Damn it, I hit it with a punishment talisman, and it's still not dead? Chen Xiao gritted his teeth, glaring at the armored beast, its entire body covered in wounds. The punishment talisman was a rare treasure, specially designed to deal with monsters. He had always kept it a secret and dared not use it easily, but this time he had to take it out because the beast was too strong. Unexpectedly, a single strike of punishment was still not enough to kill it. The armored beast roared, its bloodied flesh surging forward like a tiger pouncing on its prey, its murderous aura filling the sky. Chen Xiao gritted his teeth, refusing to retreat. Right before his eyes was the entrance to the Dragon's Lair, where the divine dragon's power was hidden. As long as he inherited it, in the upcoming decisive battles, he would be unmatched, becoming the last survivor and seizing the legacy of fallen Immortal Island. I, Chen Xiao, am the son of destiny. No one can stop my rise. His roar shook the earth, and his entire body surged with blood chi. Facing the charging armored beast, Chen Xiao leapt to his feet, made a hand seal, and released dozens of white rainbows, bombarding it continuously. Rumble, rumble, rumble! After a fierce exchange, the armored beast finally fell, turning into clusters of light, leaving behind fragmented techniques, talismans, and elixirs. HMPH? You forced my hand, Chen Xiao snorted coldly, collected all the spoils, and couldn't contain his excitement as he rushed into the Dragon's Lair. Inside the Dragon's Lair was a vast space, like a strange cave heaven, resembling a mysterious stalactite cave. Chen Xiao followed the winding path, and finally reached the end. Before him appeared an oval-shaped stone, radiating a heavy draconic aura that made others tremble. He reached out and placed his hand on it, and immediately a sacred light exploded, and a vast force flowed into his body, his entire body's blood boiling, his eyes shining brightly. In his dantian, a golden sphere appeared, surrounded by dragon-shaped chi, mysterious and noble. He had inherited a portion of the divine dragon's power. As long as he mobilized this sphere, he would have unparalleled power. Now I can crush those rare equipment-level powerhouses with one hand, and even the corpse level couldn't withstand a few moves in front of me. I'm invincible now. A proud laugh echoed throughout the Dragon's Lair. His hair flew wildly, as if he had already seen the vision of himself becoming the new master of fallen Immortal Island. Scarlet Brow Mountains, this holy sun is here to begin a killing spree. A portion of the dragon power overflowed from his body, and 2 shining dragon horns grew on his forehead. A golden dragon tail appeared behind him, his eyes like lightning, and his aura was extremely majestic. Whoosh! The half-human, half-dragon figure vanished in the Dragon's Lair. Outside the cave, a brilliant golden light tore through the void, rushing toward the Scarlet Brow Mountains at an unbelievable speed. Unlike the scene of wind and clouds on Puji Island, at this time in the real world, a Taoist priest with a scholarly demeanor stood in the courtyard, intently watching the surface of the lake where various images appeared. Oh, I didn't expect someone to find the method I deliberately left behind back then. When he saw Chen Xiao discover the Dragon's Lair and obtain the divine dragon's power, Liu Huangchu's face revealed a clear look of surprise. The so-called Dragon's Lair and divine dragon's power were actually just an ancient sword seed. 2 figures were dueling, sword energy flying everywhere, techniques clashing fiercely. In the midst of it, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared. The person had long flowing hair, adorned with white icicles, a cold face, and eyes that hid starlight like stars in the sky. In his hand, he held a blue longsword. It was Shu Wuyin. He launched an attack. His figure matched with the Earth Rank movement technique, rushing as fast as the wind. The ice soul sword in his hand waved, the sword body rippling mysteriously. A cold light flashed, and in an instant, snowflakes filled the sky, the cold air piercing to the bone. Not good. My body is becoming sluggish. The handsome man's pupils shrank, realizing something was wrong. The other gritted his teeth, trying to resist, roaring, "Kill!" But it was too late. In just 3 breaths, both were slashed over 100 times, the sound of blood falling into the void, directly turning into boxes. The snowflakes gradually melted, leaving only the white-clothed figure standing upright, holding a longsword, with 2 more boxes quietly lying under his feet. Shui Wuyin raised his head to look at Fangxia, then noticed the newly updated map. A large circle covered 4 areas, with 2 places remaining outside the boundary. This is the death energy starting to spread. He frowned slightly. Fortunately, the location of the sword seed he was standing in was within the safe zone, so there was no need to worry for the moment. Even so, to cope with unexpected events, he still wanted to find a reliable mount so he could move in and out proactively. Because the area of Buji Island was too vast, if he couldn't get into a safe zone in time and was devoured by the death energy, it would truly be the worst luck. Outside the circle, in Luandao Valley, inside a cave on the cliff face, a life and death battle was erupting at this moment. This giant eagle is mine. No one is allowed to fight for it. Get lost! Or die! Damn it, who are you? Several figures fought in chaos, one by one falling down, turning into boxes. Finally, the shouts gradually died down, leaving only a middle-aged man in a green robe, holding curved double blades in his hands, his face full of excitement. Haha, I finally won. This giant eagle is mine. He raised his head to look at the giant eagle, 8 meters tall, its entire body covered in feathers like cold steel, each sharp golden beak majestic, its aura soaring to the sky. He was extremely excited, his voice echoing, "This is my giant eagle!" At this moment the death energy was about to flood into Luandao Valley. Having this flying mount, he could leave quickly. Moreover, the appearance of the giant eagle was extremely impressive, truly a beast for both use and status. Is that so? A clear, melodious female voice suddenly rang out. You're that freak woman on the ship. The green-robed man was terrified, his spine turning cold. This giant eagle is mine. The gigantic woman swung her great sword, the sword energy rolling like a storm, hitting the green-robed man before he could react, turning him into a box. That's right, it was Li Wuji. Originally, he had planned to leave before the death energy arrived, but after hearing the sounds of fighting, he lingered to observe. Seeing a flying mount, he immediately waited for an opportunity to leisurely reap the benefits. Now the giant eagle was his. Looking at the imposing giant bird, its sharp eyes observing him, Li Wuji sighed. This giant eagle is big enough. I like it. Misty pine forest was everywhere, covered by a thick layer of white fog, vaguely shrouding the lush green forest. Suddenly, a silver meteor streaked across the sky, trailing a brilliant light like a rainbow, then fell onto a mountain peak, causing a rumbling explosion that shook the area. What was that? Everyone was shocked. After a moment of stunned silence, One-Eyed Dragon Man went wild with joy. Could it be a treasure that fell from the sky? Treasures that fall from the sky were a rare setting in this trial, appearing with extremely low probability. Whoever could get to the crash site in time would reap countless precious resources. The situation was urgent. We must get to the treasure's landing site quickly. Then we'll split the resources evenly. Don't let others snatch them. One-Eyed Dragon Man shouted, secretly calculating in his heart. Now was not the time to turn against them. He had to keep them stable. Who knew? When they arrived at the treasure site, they might encounter another team, and then they would have to join forces to fight the enemy. But if there was no one, One-Eyed Dragon Man understood that the so-called splitting evenly was just lip service. If a supreme treasure really fell out, who would be willing to share it, take turns wearing it for the experience? By then, conflicts would definitely arise, and they would inevitably slaughter each other. The sound of wind whistling past their ears, 6 figures rushing forward quickly. Soon, they saw in the deep pit that had just been struck by the meteorite, the hot air still rising fiercely. In the middle of the pit lay a silver meteorite, emitting a dazzling white light. As long as a trial participant stepped up to open it, they would obtain the resources contained inside. The 6 people stood around the edge of the pit, their eyes unable to hide their burning desire. Because as long as they obtained all the resources, even a weakling could instantly transform into a phoenix. There's no one else around here, right? Is that so? Where? Isn't he right next to you? Before he could finish speaking, a palm strike carrying ink color suddenly struck. Arg! A tall, thin man was hit, his body exploding into bones and blood, immediately turning into a square box that fell to the ground. You dare to launch a sneak attack? The remaining 4 people's hair stood on end, both shocked and angry, immediately widening the distance, warily staring at the one who had just attacked. One-Eyed Dragon Man. He laughed coldly, his face smug. In this situation, who still cared about martial ethics? He understood in his heart that those few people would be opponents sooner or later. So it was better to strike first. Reducing one enemy would lighten the burden. You're too arrogant, thinking you can fight the 4 of us alone. Demonic Bear roars heaven. One-Eyed Dragon Man roared, his figure rushing out, his hand covered in golden light fiercely striking out. In the blurred shadow of the palm appeared the figure of a giant bear, its mouth wide open roaring, its fangs bared, its eyes bloodshot, its murderous intent surging. The bodies of the other 4 exploded into bones and blood, immediately turning into square boxes that fell to the ground. This treasure is all mine. He laughed loudly, feeling a surge of accomplishment. But at that moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind him, throwing out 5 talismans, 2 weakening talismans, 3 flame talismans, all directly stuck onto One-Eyed Dragon Man's body. Who is it? In an instant, his state plummeted, his entire body burning in a strange flame, his life force flowing away madly. The person revealed himself to be a man in red, with handsome features, a teasing smile on the corner of his lips, and the words, "I alone am supreme," clearly displayed above his head. Is it you? One-Eyed Dragon Man trembled with anger, his eyes bloodshot, immediately recognizing the one he had seen on Immortal Boat. Hong Tianye coldly laughed. Being lamb should have the awareness of being lamb. Dare to dream of monopolizing treasure. Have you looked in the mirror? Are you worthy? He had actually arrived here earlier, knowing that extracting resources from the meteorite took time, and if he directly showed his face, he would be surrounded and attacked, so he decided to lie in ambush waiting for the opportunity. Therefore, Hong Tianye immediately used Concealment Talisman, taking advantage of the surprise to strike, weakening the opponent to gain the upper hand. You despicable, shameless, one-eyed dragon man gritted his teeth and roared, "Ha ha, don't forget, you yourself killed all your teammates. I'm just a bystander watching the show," Hong Tianye mocked, then quickly finished the job. Immediately, several streams of death lightning shot out from his hands, striking one-eyed dragon man. A square wooden box quietly lay on the ground, its former owner having turned to ashes. Passing away peacefully, Hong Tianye didn't bother to look, striding straight to the meteorite. After several dozen seconds, the bright meteorite gradually dimmed, turning into an ordinary rock. So, Hong Tianye opens his item, his heart surging. The white clothes on his body disappeared, replaced by a majestic dark purple armor. A mysterious aura radiates intensely. A pair of magnificent purple flame wings sprouted from his back, releasing scorching heat. A dark black Fengtian Huaji halberd appeared in his hand, filled with killing intent, as if wanting to tear the sky apart. A complete set of epic tier gear was now in his grasp. Feeling the power surging through his body, the corners of Hong Tianye's lips couldn't help but rise. He finally looked up and laughed maniacally. Haha, as expected, this future belongs to me. I am the ultimate victor. He was already imagining himself slaughtering in all directions, becoming the only one left standing, inheriting the glory of Vanamortal Island. Just then, a new circle appeared on the map, with the two locations of Luandao Valley and Bingcheng Plain covered by death energy. This time, the circle shrank to only include Chiwei Mountain. Although Chiwei Mountain is very far away, it's not a concern for me now. Hong Tianye laughed triumphantly. The purple flame wings behind him flapped powerfully, bursting with dazzling light. A sonic boom resounded as his figure transformed into a dark, purple beam of light, surpassing the speed of sound, flying straight towards the horizon. On Buji Island, a gray donkey clattered across the mountains. Hurrying towards Chiwei Mount, the donkey looked both silly and foolish, with an unattractive appearance, yet it was a true mount. Sitting on its back was a thin, shaggy-headed fellow, his face full of a nonchalant expression, always exuding an air of ridicule towards the world, making anyone who saw him want to punch him. That strange combination became a refreshing touch amidst the bloody battlefield. The shaggy-headed guy glanced back, seeing the rolling death energy closely behind, and could only sigh. These circles are closing way too fast. He patted the donkey's head, urging, "Zhao Hui, hurry up a bit, hang in there. Later, I'll find you a female to breed with." The donkey raised its head and neighed in dissatisfaction, indicating that it had exhausted its strength. Ye Junlin could only shake his head. This mount not only has a mediocre appearance, but even its speed is too slow. If he wants to replace it with a more powerful one, the top priority, of course, must be speed. Just then, a silver star streaked across the sky, like a shooting star falling straight down in front of him. Good stuff, isn't that a care package? Ye Junlin immediately understood that this was a type of treasure falling from the sky, containing countless benefits. Zhao Hui, hurry over there. The donkey immediately charged forward. Upon arriving at the meteorite's landing site, Ye Junlin leaped down. He placed his hand on it, initiating the item retrieval process. When he clearly saw what was inside, Ye Junlin took a deep breath. Whoa! Golden legendary Chiwei Mount. The continuous mountain range undulates, appearing majestic and vast. Here, the rocks and sand are all a fiery red, and the temperature is significantly higher than elsewhere. Figures successively arrived, gathering at this final battleground. Those who had entered Chiwei Mountain early were quickly finding places to hide. No one dared to act rashly, because revealing oneself too early would easily make one a target for everyone's attacks. Suddenly, a white-clad figure riding a white tiger entered Chiwei Mountain. The white tiger was 3 meters tall, its entire body covered in snow-white fur, untainted by dust. Its deep blue eyes flashed with a fierce light. On the tiger's back was a cold, white-clad man with a long sword at his waist. His face was indifferent, and his eyes didn't seem to regard anyone as an opponent. Above his head appeared 4 large characters. Bai Yi Jian Xian, white-clothed sword immortal, directly announcing his true identity in the real world. Not bothering to hide it was absolute confidence. It was sword immortal Shui Wu Yin. Hidden in the shadows, many people trembled in their hearts. Everyone understood that this was a formidable enemy. HMPH, what's there to be afraid of? Everyone here is the same, relying on their own methods to achieve their goals. Daring to be so public. Isn't he just asking to be ambushed and surrounded? A deep voice sounded. Obviously, since Zhu Wuyin appeared on the most eye-catching white tiger in Chiwei Mountain, he had long been noticed by everyone. His contemptuous attitude and dismissive gaze made many trial takers uncomfortable, and murderous intent surged in their hearts, because having the opportunity to exchange blows with a sword immortal was rare in this lifetime. Even though this was just a virtual world, it could be considered indirectly engaging in combat with a strong opponent. After going out, they could still brag. I once fought against a true sword immortal, and it was a back-and-forth battle. Shui Wu Yin, with his keen intuition, had already sensed that someone was lurking in the shadows. The murderous intent in the air was becoming increasingly concentrated. It seemed that someone was about to launch a joint attack on him. However, he didn't care at all, still calmly riding the white tiger, stepping leisurely. Suddenly, a clear cry pierced the sky, followed by hearty laughter. Just hearing the voice knew it was a girl. All eyes turned in unison, and immediately revealed a strange expression. On the back of a giant eagle appeared a small figure, in the shape of a loli, with her arms crossed in front of her chest. Seeing this scene, even the corners of Shui Wuyin's mouth twitched, unable to suppress a sense of annoyance. At this moment, the great eagle flapped its wings, soaring in the sky. On its back, a petite girl, but her face revealed a mischievous expression, looking down at the white-clothed man with interest. Hee hee, your mount has style. Shu Wuyin nodded slightly. Thank you for the compliment, Taoist friend. The white tiger under him was a high-level mount, and could also assist in combat. Indeed a great help. The girl proudly puffed out her chest, saying smugly. But my great eagle is bigger than yours. Shui Wuyin was speechless. The person who had just appeared was none other than Li Wuji. After a few frivolous words, he deliberately glanced around, sneering. All right, how long are you all planning to hide? As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately drew his broadsword and shouted with imposing momentum, I hate these sneaky rats the most. If you don't come out, don't blame this old man for seeking you out one by one. The words were like adding fuel to the fire. The murderous intent in the air immediately surged. Those hiding in Shui Mountain were already dissatisfied, now even more angered. Shui Wuyin was a sword immortal. Arrogance could still be understood. But someone with such a strange lowly appearance dared to be arrogant. Wasn't that too much? Many people had already begun to stir. Murderous intent rising like the tide. In this Shui Mountain, there were no less than 30 people hiding. Once they joined forces, it would be an extremely powerful force. Even someone with enough rare equipment, holding Earth-grade cultivation techniques in their hands, once surrounded, it would be difficult to escape certain death. Li Wuji's provocation was like lighting a fuse, many people were thinking. It would be better to deal with that lowly first, as a way to vent their anger. Shui Wuyin smiled, sincerely suggesting, Taoist friend, you and I have similar goals. Why not temporarily join forces to clear out these rat nests hiding here? Li Wuji scratched his head, seeing that the other party was sincere and not too arrogant, so it wasn't convenient to refuse, he replied. Since you have the sincerity, I'll temporarily accept this cooperation. Li Wuji waved his broadsword, slashing heavily at the mountainside of Qigui Mountain. A violent explosion resounded, dust and rocks swirled, the mountainside cracked, and a crack revealed, inside, a scarred man kneeling halfway, shouting, At this point, what are you still hesitating for? Go up and deal with them. As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of powerful auras erupted simultaneously, light and murderous intent soaring into the sky. Figures rushed out of the darkness, with all sorts of weapons, each displaying their own unique skills. Their faces were full of killing intent. Obviously they had been provoked. Deciding not to hesitate, first they must eliminate the two strongest people in front of them. Too much. Kill. The shouts of killing resounded like thunder, the murderous intent so thick that the air became viscous. Shui Wuyin still maintained a calm expression, his right hand placed on the hilt of his sword, slowly drawing it out. With that movement, the surrounding air suddenly cooled, the temperature dropped sharply, snow flurries drifted and swirled around him. When the sword was completely drawn, a violent burst of cold air erupted, the ground around him quickly froze, ice spreading continuously. The longsword was about 1 meter long, with a dazzling ice blue light. Obviously an upgraded version of the Ice Soul Divine Sword, its quality reaching epic tier. Damn it, his weapon is epic tier. No wonder he's so arrogant. What's there to be afraid of? He only has the sword that's epic tier. The other equipment is all excellent grade. Obviously strong offense but weak defense, we can beat him. Immediately, more than a dozen people rushed over simultaneously, displaying all kinds of attack skills. The corner of Shui Wunyin's mouth slightly curved. Swoosh, a sword slashes out, its energy like a fierce biting wind sweeping across. Rumble. The surrounding space is filled with bone-chilling cold. The icy intent spreads, turning faces pale, bodies stiff, and movements sluggish like they're in chains. Shui Wuyin uses a top-tier Earth-grade movement technique, his figure shifting unpredictably, reality and illusion blurring. His sword is so fast it's a blur, his attacks utterly lethal. In mere seconds, several people are struck, collapsing, instantly lifeless, leaving only small, square wooden boxes behind. White snow fills the sky, ice covers the ground, and the cold surges like a rising tide, swirling and spreading, a stark contrast to the fiery landscape of Qigui Mountain. What kind of freaky sword is that? I can barely move, stay focused, stay calm. The crowd immediately descends into chaos. In the blink of an eye, Zhu Wuyin's superior skills have shattered their initial overwhelming assault, like smoke in the wind. He grips the Bingpo Divine Sword tightly, his hair flying in the snowstorm, his face cold and emotionless as he swings his blade. Swoosh! 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 The Bingpo Divine Sword flashes with a frigid blue light, its chilling aura spreading in all directions. Everyone stares in horror as their bodies gradually frost over, the blood in their veins freezing, their movements growing sluggish, and their faces contorting in agony. No, this can't be. Zhu Wuyin glides through them, his cold sword light crisscrossing, each person falling, transforming into boxes that drop with a thud on the ground. Soon, all that remains are scattered boxes. Except for the two of them, not a single living soul remains. Those little rats are taken care of. Now, it's our turn to duel. Li Wuji grips his great blade, his voice low. Their brief moment of perfect cooperation is fleeting. Now, only the two of them are left on Qigui Mountain. A life-or-death battle is inevitable. Suddenly, Shui Wuyin seems to notice something, narrowing his eyes. Swordlight shoots out a beam of chilling energy over 3 meters long, he says coldly. HMPH, still trying to hide. Get lost. A ring of icy blue sword energy sweeps through, slamming into a hidden corner of Qigui Mountain, exploding with a deafening roar. Dust and rocks billow, the earth crumbles and slides, a scene of immense power. As the dust settles, a scornful laugh rings out, followed by a burst of dark purple light that obliterates the remaining smoke. In a large crater, a figure stands with their hands clasped behind their back, clad in dark purple armor from head to toe. The young man smirks, 4 bold characters floating above his head. Only I am supreme. Who are you laughing at? Li Wuji recognizes the other person, and blurts out in annoyance. Shu Wujin looks at the armored figure, warning him cautiously. Be careful, this guy is trouble. He knows the power of the sushi equipment. He himself wields the Bingpo Divine Sword, which allows him to attack quickly and release freezing energy. But his defense is lacking. He compensates for his weakness with speed and deceptive movement techniques. But facing Hong Tianye in a full set of sushi equipment, the pressure is on a whole new level. The figure in purple armor chuckles easily, saying that he planned to ambush them on Chimmy Mountain, watch them kill each other, and then reap the benefits. But he's been exposed. This young man is Hong Tianye. He's been lying in wait, carefully observing the situation, and finding Shui Wuyin the only opponent worth noticing. Seeing that the other person is too perceptive, Hong Tianye doesn't need to hide anymore. He steps out, and Shui Wuyin responds, "You have good equipment, but that doesn't mean you can beat me." Hong Tianye says coldly, "Want to find out?" His eyes flick to Li Wuji, hinting at whether that person will really stand aside and help Shui Wuyin if necessary. Only Hong Tianye and Li Wuji understand the implication. If Li Wuji helps Shui Wuyin, they will have conflict in the real world. Li Wuji understands Hong Tianye's meaning, but he can't object and looks troubled. Shu Wuyin frowns, warning, "Don't threaten her." Suddenly, the petite figure explodes in anger, yelling, "Shut up! If you dare say another word, I'll chop you to pieces." The anger and killing intent in her voice make the air crackle. Her expression is so ruthless that it sends shivers down your spine. Hong Tianye frowns slightly. He hates being threatened most of all, but seeing the other party's extreme reaction, he considers the person's identity and strength, and reluctantly swallows his anger. Even so, for the sake of his pride, Hong Tianye still refuses to back down, saying coldly, "HMPH, I didn't say anything. You don't need to be so vicious. Do you think I'm scared of you or something?" Hearing this, the lowly Li Wuji glares angrily, her breath coming in gasps, her chest heaving, grinding her teeth as she replies, "I'll say this one last time, don't cross my bottom line." Li Wuji is both angry and worried. If her true identity is revealed, she will never be able to face anyone again. She will be considered a pervert. If she becomes the legendary knife god one day, this stain will definitely become an indelible dark history. Thinking of this, Li Wuji becomes even more furious. Even a killing intent flashes in her heart, wanting to just get rid of Hong Tianye once and for all. Shui Wuyin frowns. Seeing the attitude of the two, he guesses they know each other. If it weren't for their different positions, he would really want to ask Hong Tianye to reveal the lowly's true identity, because she is too special, making him want to know more. Hong Tianye snorts coldly. "Who are you trying to scare? If you have the guts, let's have a one-on-one battle with me later." Li Wuji understands that this is giving him a way out, and calms down, replying using that as an excuse, "All right, I'll wait." This statement implies that he will not help Shui Wuyin, and let the two fight on their own. After all, in the real world, he and Hong Tianye are fellow disciples. Shui Wuyin doesn't care at all, raising his sword and pointing it directly at Hong Tianye, his voice as deep as steel. "Watch closely, I'll show you how I'm gonna chop him down." Hong Tianye purses his lips, his face showing a clear expression of discomfort. He had just raised his Feng Tian Huaji, preparing to launch an attack, when a series of deafening explosions suddenly echoed from afar, shaking the earth. The thick, dark clouds in the sky are torn apart, scattering in large patches. In mid-air, a dazzling golden light splits the sky and descends. A golden figure, half human and half dragon, descends from above, his aura seeming to crush the entire Chimmy Mountain. 2 dragon horns grow on his forehead, his long hair flies, his figure is tall, handsome, and arrogant. He stands with his hands clasped behind his back, his golden tail swaying gently behind him, his entire body radiating a terrifying aura that distorts the surrounding space, causing shimmering ripples to appear. 6 large characters shine brightly above his head, as if to announce to the world, "I have the aptitude to become an immortal." The person who has arrived is Chen Zhao. He licks his lips and smiles coldly. "So, you're all that's left. Even though I can't fully enjoy a grand massacre, wiping out the strongest guys here should be satisfying enough." His lips curled into a cruel smile, his words overflowing with killing intent. What kind of technique is this that allows him to transform like that? Hong Tianye frowned, sensing a terrifying force engulfing his opponent. Hong Tianye tightened his halberd, his eyes narrowed, his whole body on alert. "Who are you?" Chen Zhao chuckled, his arrogant voice echoing through the air. "You ask who I am? Then I'll mercifully tell you. I am the chosen one of the fallen immortal island." As soon as he finished speaking, a violent storm arose in the sky, thunder rumbling. Hong Tianye's expression changed, and he replied coldly, "You are too arrogant. Do you really think you're invincible?" That's right, Chen Xiao's eyes were arrogant, his aura domineering. "This holy sun is invincible." Hong Tianye growled, "You just wait, I will wake you from your dream." With that said, he glanced at Shui Wuyin, his voice dropping. "Let's join forces and eliminate this guy first." "I think so too, his power is very strange," Li Wuji said with a serious face. Shu Wujin glanced at the Luli beside him and nodded. "Okay, I agree. Haha, great." Chen Xiao laughed loudly, his eyes full of excitement. "All 3 of you can come at me together. I don't have time to play around for long." As soon as he finished speaking, the aura on his body exploded, surging like a storm. Boom boom, the sky changed, and lightning poured down like a waterfall of death. Hong Tianye roared. The purple wings behind him burst into flames, flapping violently, creating a scorching heat wave. His figure was like a bolt of lightning rushing straight towards Chen Zhao. The Fang Tian Huaji in his hand swung out, the purple light surging, the halberd blade shining brightly as if to shatter the sky. With a deafening bang, dazzling light exploded throughout the space. The corner of Hong Tianye's lips slightly twitched, revealing a smug look. This is a full-force strike from a death-dealing grade weapon, with astonishing power, enough to seriously injure anyone. Shu Wuyin frowned slightly. If it were him, he was afraid that he would hardly survive that attack. As the lighting gradually dissipated, in the dim light, a figure still stood tall, the corner of his mouth lifted, revealing a mocking smile. "Is that all you've got?" Chen Xiao squatted slightly, his body flashed, his palm turned into a dragon claw, and he unleashed a powerful palm. Looking closely, his entire arm was covered with dragon scales and surging spiritual pressure. "What?" Hong Tianye turned pale. She didn't expect the other party to be uninjured, not even a hair. The dragon claw collided with the Fang Tianhuaji, bursting out a violent shock, and waves of space vibrations spread throughout the sky. Cough, ah! A stream of bright red blood flowed from the corner of Hong Tianye's mouth, and his eyes gradually froze, unable to believe it. What kind of power is this? Even a death-dealing grade weapon has to submit. Seeing that the situation was dangerous, Xue Wuyin immediately gathered his spiritual energy, pouring all his strength into the Ice Soul Divine Sword. A ring of blue ice sword energy exploded, entraining a whirlwind and icy snow as it swirled into the sky. Chen Xiao originally planned to kill everyone with one blow, but his rhythm was broken by the unexpected attack, and his movements faltered slightly. Hong Tianye took the opportunity to retreat, widening the distance, his eyes full of fear, and he questioned in a cold voice. "Where does your power ultimately come from?" "That's right, what makes you able to transform? And we can't." Li Wuji gritted his teeth and roared angrily. Chen Xiao smiled faintly. "I've already said I am the chosen one, the legitimate heir of the fallen immortal island. How dare you mongrels compare to me?" After speaking, he casually dispelled the blue ice sword energy, his eyes looking down as if into an abyss. "Kill him for me!" Li Wuji roared, extremely angry. He swung his blade and slashed fiercely. A brilliant blade light, as bright as divine punishment, descended, its aura surging. Clearly this was a top-grade combat skill. Li Wuji had always concealed his strength, and now he was forced to the point of desperation before unleashing his full power. "The knife may break, the blood may flow, but you must die for me." HMPH, does this ugly thing dare to approach this holy sun? Chen Xiao scorned, his face full of disgust. He raised his dragon claw and swung it out like thunder, slamming it straight into the dazzling blade light. "Oyan!" The blade light shattered, and the light dissipated. Li Wuji was blown away by the powerful force. His body slammed into the ground, and he spat out blood. The great condor screamed angrily, spread its wings and soared into the sky. Thousands of sharp feathers rushed over like rain. "Does a hairy beast dare to act presumptuously in front of me?" Chen Xiao sneered. He slightly lifted his hand, gathering spiritual energy into a 3-zang-wide golden dragon claw, filled with... Li Wuji gritted his teeth, a talisman appearing in his hand. He poured his magic power into it, his figure immediately blurring before disappearing. At the critical moment, he used a secret technique to quietly circle behind Chen Xiao. Chen Xiao immediately sensed something amiss. His body suddenly flashed. 8 talismans stuck to him at some point, all simultaneously erupting with a mysterious light. 6 weakened him, and 2 unleashed flames, all hitting their mark. Feeling a barrage of negative effects descending upon him, Chen Xiao flew into a rage, feeling like he was being played by this woman. He roared, dragon claws piercing through Lu Lai's chest, blood splattering everywhere. "Avenge my giant eagle, you too!" Li Wuji howled, his voice hoarse with anger. "Die!" Chen Xiao snarled, his dragon claws tightening. Bang! Lu Lai's body shattered, turning into a square box that fell to the ground. "No!" Xu Wuyin raised his head and let out a long howl, the north wind howling around him as snowflakes swirled violently. In his rage, he gripped the Ice Soul Divine Sword tightly, his entire body transforming into a stream of icy blue light, piercing straight through like an avatar of the Ice Snow Divine Dragon. The heavens and earth shook. White snow surged, as if wanting to bury the entire Crimson Brow Mountain. That was his ultimate technique, the strongest move Xue Wuyin could unleash. He wanted revenge for Li Wuji, and for the giant eagle that had fallen. At that moment, Hong Tianye's eyes flashed. Seeing his teammate desperately creating an opportunity, he immediately poured all his magic power into the Fang Tianhuaji halberd. Bang! A blood-red beam of light, wider than 10 zang, shot out, carrying an astonishing aura of destruction, sweeping straight towards Chen Xiao. Heaven tier mid-grade ultimate technique, Destruction Ray. This wide-area combat state descended upon Chen Xiao. Being simultaneously attacked by 2 terrifying forces, he felt as if his entire body was being crushed, his internal organs churning as if burning. "You've completely angered me," a ferocious roar echoed, containing a faint dragon's roar of authority, shaking the very sky as if it were trembling. Chen Xiao gritted his teeth, exhausting all the power of the divine dragon within his body. In an instant, his entire body radiated a blazing light, his skin gradually covered in patches of hard dragon scales, shining with a brilliant crimson gold luster. Dragon horns sprouted from the top of his head, he was clad in dragon armor, his limbs transformed into dragon claws, and behind him was a dragon tail gently swaying, looking no different from a true little dragon person. When releasing the pure power of the divine dragon, Chen Xiao's aura soared, becoming many times stronger than before. Oomph! The air exploded. Waves of turbulent air surged out, instantly erasing the 2 attacks from before, dissipating them completely. What? Hong Tianye's expression changed, staring in horror at the dragon person figure standing tall in the void. Impossible. Xue Wuyin trembled, his eyes widening, waves of shock rising in his heart. Without using magic treasures or operating cultivation techniques, where did this terrifying power come from? The sky turned gloomy, and the chaotic air currents seemed to be reversed. Chen Xiao stood in mid-air, his eyes like lightning. The aura around him ancient and powerful, like an ancient divine dragon descending. Before that pressure, all creatures on the island trembled. Every monster knelt down in unison, kowtowing respectfully and shouting, "Greetings, Dragon King!" Even the donkey that Ye Junlin was riding stopped abruptly. Looking at the illusion of a dragon in the sky from afar, Ye Junlin blurted out, "Oh, there's a dragon. I wonder who cast this spell." Li Wuji was teleported out, gnashing his teeth and yelling, Damn it, this dragon is too arrogant. Who is he? Those outside were also observing the battle through lenses. Someone exclaimed. This half-human, half-dragon form is terrifying. Like a naked demon dragon. What if he had a mythic sword immortal? In front of this demon dragon, he's nothing more than an ant. Chen Xiao sneered, his deep voice echoing. Before absolute power, all schemes or resistance are meaningless. His gaze swept over Li Wuji, who had just fallen and transformed into a wooden box, and a teasing smile appeared on his lips. Then he raised his hand and condensed 2 giant black and white light orbs. Chen Xiao waved his hand and roared, "Dual dragons devour the heavens." In an instant, the 2 orbs transformed into dual dragons carrying vivid spirituality, shooting away. The 2 giant dragons, thousands of meters long, waved their tails with turbulent momentum, roaring and charging straight towards Hong Tianye and Xue Wuyin. Not good. The 2 were shocked, their hearts sinking to the bottom. The previous ultimate move had consumed almost all of their magic power. They hadn't had time to recover, and now they had to fight again. This was definitely a desperate situation. The dual dragons descended like divine punishment. Before this desperate situation, Xue Wuyin plunged his sword into the ground, creating a layer of ice defense. But in an instant, the ice shattered, and the dual dragons pierced through Xue Wuyin's body. Deo brother, I'm sorry, I can't avenge you and that giant eagle. Xue Wuyin's entire body was stained with blood, his voice hoarse and weak. With those words, his head drooped, and his body transformed into a small, square wooden box. After all, his protective gear was only fine grade. Under this terrifying attack, there was no way he could have survived. Chen Xiao sneered. The inheritances and equipment you pride yourselves on are simply not worthy of this saint's claws. Cough, cough. Not far ahead, a halberd was tilted and stuck into the ground. Beside it was the figure of a young man covered in blood, kneeling on one knee, panting. The mythic gear on his body was tattered, severely damaged, but still enough to keep his life hanging by a thread. Raising his head to look at the sky, Hong Tianye saw Chen Xiao's figure standing tall in midair, his power surpassing even the Dragon King. His face turned pale, and his heart was filled with resentment and unwillingness. Damn it! Could it be that this great immortal destiny will belong to him again? Hong Tianye gritted his teeth, his low voice trembling with anger. It was clearly a supreme opportunity, a peak inheritance of immortals, yet now he could only watch it fade away in despair. Ha ha! A mad laugh echoed across the crimson brow mountain. Chen Xiao stood in midair, his entire body radiating a brilliant golden light, his face clearly showing the arrogance and extreme pleasure of someone who held invincible power in their hands. This inheritance on Fallen Immortal Island was now, in his eyes, nothing more than an easy game. After bitterness comes sweetness. Ha ha! After bitterness comes sweetness. Chen Xiao raised his head and laughed loudly, recalling the humiliation he had suffered, now washed away in glory. He spread his arms, the smile on his lips widening. All his enemies were just stepping stones for him to ascend. This moment was the best proof. When he obtained the immortal destiny, he would soar to the heavens in one step, sweep away all humiliation, and repay it 1,000-fold. Many people outside saw the scene and exclaimed, "As expected, he's the winner this time. This power is like cheating." That's right, where's Ye Junlin? Isn't he always defying the heavens? Why haven't we seen him? He's probably been eliminated early. At this point, no matter who it is, they can't beat the demon dragon. As long as I deal with you, Chen Xiao grinned cruelly, slowly raising one finger. I will be the final victor. A terrifying aura radiated out, causing Hong Tianye's entire body to turn cold. He thought to himself, his hands couldn't even lift anymore. Is it really the end? Now that I think about it, why haven't I seen my master this time? Chen Xiao unleashed his claws, sneering. The inheritance of Wu Immortal Island is only worthy of a heaven-ordained person like me. Remember to have a good reincarnation in your next life. Don't provoke me again. Clop, clop, clop. Suddenly, the steady sound of donkey hooves came from afar, sounding rhythmic. Following the sound, a donkey carrying a bald man slowly approached. There's still a third person in the trial? Chen Xiao frowned in surprise. It turned out that he was so focused on the battle just now that he didn't notice there was still a survivor on the map. It's that idiot on the immortal boat from before. Hong Tianye narrowed his eyes, recognizing the familiar figure. No. Could it really be him? He shook his head. Even if it was true, that person's appearance now would only lead to death. After the battle just now, Hong Tianye had completely understood that the only winner could be Chen Xiao. Before absolute power, resistance was meaningless. Luckily, I made it in time. Ye Junlin raised his head to look at the miasma that was spreading behind him, his heart still trembling with fear. So this is Crimson Brow Mountain? He looked around, seeing the devastated mountain after the battle, then lowered his gaze, catching sight of a seriously injured young man who was near death, along with a fierce figure standing high above. Oh, there's a little dragon person in this game? Ye Junlin exclaimed in surprise, blurting out. Shut up! Hearing that name, Chen Xiao angrily shouted. What little dragon, dude? You gotta call him Dragon Lord, man. The crowd outside burst into laughter. Ha ha, what kind of freak is that? Daring to mess with Ma Long, is he stupid? Stepping out now is basically suicide. Better to be a coward. Taking second place is fine too. Seeing the bald guy with a naive face that just begged to be punched, Chen Xiao instantly flew into a rage. Moreover, for some reason, he felt a familiar, detestable feeling from this guy. No way, no way, you think you're really a Dragon Lord just by changing your skin? The bald guy shouted and waved his hand, his arrogant expression and shiny head making his words even more sarcastic. Hearing this, Chen Xiao's eyes twitched, his face darkened like water, and indescribable anger surged in his heart. This bald prick made him feel even more nauseous than any enemy he had ever faced. Die, you son of a bitch! Chen Xiao roared, unleashing his dragon claw with all his might. Boom! The dragon claw was like a giant golden dragon hand reaching out in the sky. Spiritual power surged, and golden dragon phantoms twisted around his body. The oppressive force was as heavy as a mountain, pressing straight down on the bald head. But the bald head stood still without moving, looking like he was stunned. Trisk, I knew it. Hong Tianye sighed, his eyes heavy. He understood that the outcome of this battle was probably decided. This dragon claw is too scary. That bald head is probably going to be smashed into minced meat. I can't bear to watch, I'm too soft. Bye. Just then, brilliant golden light burst out in the air, and a domineering blade of light tore through the sky, shining so brightly that it was blinding. The entire sky seemed to be split in two, and an earth-shattering crack appeared, seemingly capable of shattering the limits of this world. Ah, impossible. Chen Xiao was shocked, and retracted his hand violently. The dragon hand was torn apart, fresh blood spilled out. He retreated in fear, his eyes filled with horror. I am the Dragon Lord, the Chosen One. How dare that broken knife hurt me? What kind of weapon are you using? With just that one slash, he clearly felt the threat of death. Deep in his blood, the instinct of fear rose up, making his spine tingle. Unbelievable. He had absorbed the power of the divine dragon. How could there be anything on this island that could make him tremble? Hong Tianye took a deep breath, his eyes shocked when he clearly saw the scene in front of him. Legendary gold. This is the highest level weapon. We've swept through 3 areas and only picked up a few pieces of epic equipment. It's still a long way to go to assemble a complete one. That's right. He actually assembled a complete legendary weapon. How on earth did he do it? Before his eyes, the guy riding on the fire was bald and shiny, holding high a majestic broadsword, the hilt inlaid with dragon patterns, the body of the blade shining with golden light, its aura domineering, carrying a breath as if it could cut off the entire world. Ever played Legend? Heard of the Dragon Slayer's sword? Yi Junlin gripped the sword tightly in his hand, his aura surging, and his deep voice rang out. I'm Zhuo Zhuohui. If you're a brother, come and chop me. Chen Zhao stood there like a statue, a huge question mark appearing in his head. What is legend? Who is Zhuo Zhuohui? What the hell are you talking about? A series of tangled questions swirled in his head. Wait, the Dragon Slayer sword. Could it be that this weapon is specifically for slaying dragons? Chen Xiao immediately grasped that keyword. His eyes became suspicious and uncertain, his back was cold, and a chill ran down his spine. Those strange words, and this heaven-defying weapon? It's him, absolutely him. Recalling the bald guy's vague words just now, Hong Tianye immediately confirmed that this person was undoubtedly his shameless master. Could it be that he is Shifu? Only that person has such abilities. Shifu, please avenge your disciple, Li Wuji cheered excitedly. Such heaven-defying luck and ability. It must be Ye Junlin, I told you. He wouldn't be eliminated so easily. So he was holding back to unleash a big move. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted like a volcano, piercing through the sky. The sound of a dragon's roar shook and echoed throughout the sky. I don't believe it. I am the chosen one. This inheritance belongs to me. The last survivor must be me. Chen Zhao raised his head and roared, his long hair flying, his whole body's muscles bulging, his height soaring to 5 meters. His skin turned into patches of shimmering golden dragon scales, as dazzling as the midday sun. Behind him, a huge dragon tail swept powerfully, carrying enough power to crush even bedrock. His dragon eyes gradually turned blood red, filled with violence and killing intent. This demon dragon can actually mutate, and the size is too much. Too terrifying. Even Ye Junlin may not be able to withstand it. At this time, Chen Xiao had completely released the divine dragon power in his body. He roared, his chest bulging. Then he opened his mouth and spewed out a golden shockwave about 10 zang wide, carrying the destructive power to level everything. With the treasure sword in hand, the world is mine. Ye Junlin gripped the Dragon Slayer sword tightly. His figure shot up like lightning, his sword momentum surging, slashing straight at the opponent. Slash! A dazzling blade of light burst out. The sword force shook the heavens and the earth, tearing apart the golden shockwave, powerfully splitting the space in front of him in two. What? Chen Xiao's eyes widened. His pupils shrank, and his body instinctively dodged. The blade of light brushed past right beside him, only an inch away. The icy feeling of death swept over him, making his whole body crawl with goosebumps, and his mind suddenly became unusually clear. This person is too strong. If I collide head-on, even if I don't die, I'll be crippled. Chen Xiao forcibly suppressed the shock in his heart, quickly analyzed the situation in his head, and assessed his opponent with strategic eyes. This person, apart from possessing a legendary gold-level weapon, the rest of his equipment is only rare purple level. In other words, his defense is his weakness. As long as I seize the opportunity, I may not necessarily be unable to win. Twin dragons devour the heavens. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Chen Xiao raised his hand to form a seal, condensing into 2 giant dragons, lifelike, their aura surging, circling around his body and then rushing out like lightning. It's useless. The Dragon Slayer sword is for slaying dragons. Seeing the 2 giant dragons rushing over, carrying overwhelming power, Ye Junlin sneered, raised his sword high and slashed down. A dazzling blade of light burst out, illuminating the entire sky, and the holy golden light filled the heavens and the earth. The blade light was too strong. One slash hit and cut the 2 dragons in half. Their bodies disintegrated, turning into spots of light falling like shooting stars. Now is the time. A figure shaped like a dragon rushed down like lightning, its speed extremely fast, and in an instant it appeared behind Ye Junlin. He put all his strength into his dragon claw, delivering an earth-shattering blow. Boom! The muffled explosion sounded like hitting a steel wall. What? Chen Xiao trembled all over. His arm ached. His dragon claw was shaken back, and he was extremely horrified in his heart. Before his eyes, a layer of crimson gold shield appeared behind Ye Junlin, emitting a dazzling light. The energy emitted from the Dragonslayer sword in his hand. So that was the skill of the Dragonslayer sword. An absolute defense shield, without a blind spot, protecting the swordholder from all attacks of the dragon race. Not bad, pretty quick. But too bad. My Dragonslayer sword has 100% no dead angle defense. Ye Junlin turned around. His expression relaxed, and his familiar teasing smile was still on his face. That smile just made his opponents want to go crazy. This holy sun absolutely does not believe in so-called 100% defense. I am the strongest. Chen Xiao was both frightened and angry, feeling that his reputation had been severely humiliated. He gritted his teeth, clenched his hands into fists, his muscles bulged, dragon power surged, and then he frantically launched punches, bombarding straight at Ye Junlin. Suddenly, the crimson gold shield in front of the bald head automatically opened, blocking the storm-like punches that came, and deafening collision sounds burst out continuously, ringing like war drums, making people tremble. Li Wuji snorted coldly. HMPH, it's like scratching Shifu's itch. What terrifying power. Just one punch is enough to kill me 10 times. Can Ye Junlin's shield really withstand it forever? Hong Tianye witnessed the scene in the sky. He smiled slightly, hiding and observing. This side is still increasing its strength. Fight. Fight hard. It's best if you both die. Maybe this seat will still have a glimmer of hope. Taking advantage of the fact that they are fighting fiercely, I must quickly hide myself, waiting for the opportunity to strike. Break for me, Chen Xiao roared madly, determined to win. His roar was like he wanted to swallow Crimson Brow Mountain whole. Each fist hammered against the shield, the aftershock sweeping across the ground, sending sand, dust, and rubble swirling into the air. Hong Tianye strained to resist, coughing, and thought he had to get further away, or he'd be caught up in it. Ye Junlin was slightly annoyed, wondering why the other guy was so eager when he hadn't even done anything. But he shook his head, gripped the Dragonslayer blade tightly, preparing to counterattack. This attack is terrifying. The energy radiating from it is likely something I couldn't withstand. But Senior Ye is dealing with it so easily. Just how strong is he? That's enough. Time to run. Hong Tianye had already run far from the battlefield, wanting to play the fisherman who profits. This holy sun doesn't believe you can withstand this move. Golden Dragon Sky howled. He roared. His chest puffed out, and then he opened his mouth to spew out a golden shockwave about 10 zang wide, carrying destructive power enough to flatten everything. This energy is terrifying. Even a legendary protective shield would have a hard time withstanding it. HMPH. Child's play. I told you I am invincible. A layer of golden light automatically appeared around me, blocking all killing moves. At that moment, the violent energy exploded directly, each hit strong enough to shatter a glacier. Hong Tianye was caught in the sweep, wave after wave of violent force crashing into him. His body went limp, and he fell, the world fading away. Because he was standing by watching the chaos, Hong Tianye suffered a fatal blow, killed by the after effects of the attack. Even the aftershocks from their battle are too much for me to handle. How laughable. This white light covers Crimson Brow Mountain. Could Senior Yi have been swallowed by the dragon breath? Li Wujian worried. Shifu, you must hold on. Avenge your disciple. In front of him, Ye Junlin still stood firm as a mountain, his face showing indifference, even a bit of leisure. Chen Xiao was so anxious that he was sweating profusely, feeling like the prey was in his hands, but he still couldn't bite it. How can this be? Why, don't you have any weaknesses? I told you. With the Dragonslayer blade in my hand, this world is mine. A little dragon person like you. What can you use to resist? Now, is it my turn to attack? Chen Xiao growled. Ye Junlin answered leisurely. Dragonslayer strike. Obliteration. Boom! A sky-rending explosion. A golden blade light erupted, carrying absolute power to crush the space. The bright golden light filled his vision, so dazzling that there was nowhere to escape. No place to breathe. Chen Xiao trembled. A terrifying thought flashed in his mind, his whole body cold as if falling into an abyss. Wait, Brother Invincible, give me a chance. His voice trembled, mixed with sobs. No, this holy sun has the power of the divine dragon. I'm the invincible one, so why is this happening again? I'm not reconciled. Chen Xiao's eyes widened, and before the curse could be uttered, his head left his neck. His body gradually dissipated. Ye Junlin's, so intense that even the constellations can't withstand the shockwaves. From the extraterrestrial spirit army, the frigid laughter of ancient beings echoed. They sneered. The outcome is set. Why do you stubbornly resist? A resounding voice from Kunlun replied. Are we cultivators afraid of war? We are willing to live and die with the Kunlun realm, hold our ground, and share Kunlun's fate. HMPH, useless stubbornness. You are merely pawns discarded by the divine court. Who do you expect to come and save you? We don't need to rely on the divine court. The Kunlun realm can save itself. If that's the case, let them taste the river of death. Let them know the price of resistance. The extraterrestrials have a grand scheme, wanting to blanket this planet with a fate of absolute destruction. Taking Kunlun is all that matters, no matter the cost. Kunlun cultivators ignited their suicidal resolve, but every drop of the river of death contained absolute destructive power. Even immortals, if tainted by half a drop, would suffer cultivation demise. Several blood-soaked immortal emperors cried out in panic. This is bad. Every drop of the river of death contains pure death energy. Contact means instant death. Retreat into the Kunlun realm. Within the extraterrestrial coalition army, several overseeing giants laughed triumphantly. Hee, the Kunlun realm is about to be destroyed. This star will soon belong to us. But at that moment, a majestic roar filled with rage echoed through the heavens and earth. With me here, don't even think about succeeding. Formation activate. The magnificent voice shook the 8 directions, clearly reaching the ears of every living being. Immediately afterward, massive grand formations blazed to life, erupting with countless ancient, obscure yet profound runes. Boom. Instantly, the river of death, which was surging towards the Kunlun realm, was forcibly redirected, like a wild beast changing course, violently rushing towards the extraterrestrial allied forces. It's the island master of fallen immortal island making a move. His formation can even redirect the river of death? In an instant, the river of death surged wildly, sweeping away the extraterrestrial army. Screams vanished amidst the death energy. Countless lives perished, and only a few survived by sheer luck. The formerly hopeless situation immediately reversed, and Kunlun realm cultivators cheered in unison. Many moved to tears. Great, we still have a chance to fight. The divine might of the island master, the Kunlun realm, is saved. Seeing this scene, Ye Junlin couldn't help but clap in praise, secretly marveling. Truly amazing, a heaven-defying move. Wait, did they mention the island master of fallen immortal island? Just as Ye Junlin was astonished, a familiar voice sounded from behind him. Young one, you're very surprised, aren't you? This is just a fraction of the truth of the Kunlun realm from back then. Ye Junlin immediately turned around and saw a slender, middle-aged Taoist with an immortal demeanor, a faint smile, gently stroking his beard, exuding a carefree and natural air. Who are you? Listen closely, the man smiled and replied. I am Liu Huangchu, the island master of fallen immortal island, and also the supreme formation widely acknowledged throughout the myriad realms. Who are you? Listen closely. That person smiles and answers, I am Liu Huangshuo, island master of fallen immortal island. At this moment, space seems to freeze, so silent you can hear every breath. HMPH, little brat, did I scare you stiff? Liu Huangshuo smiles triumphantly, feeling this display of power was extremely successful. But immediately after, Ye Junlin tilts his head and asks sincerely, what about your 5 woohoo generals? Liu Huangshuo is stunned, completely not understanding what the other person is saying. He only knows this silver-haired youth seems to be speaking a language from another world. Little brat, I don't understand what you're saying. He frowns, waving his sleeve. In his heart, he vaguely suspects that this youth might have something wrong with his head. Then I'll call you Senior Liu. Ye Junlin says seriously, Liu Huangshuo nods, finally looking pleased. Senior Liu, so you're not dead, Ye Junlin says honestly, impressed. Liu Huangshuo is stunned. Can you even talk? He replies angrily. Back then when I stayed at Fallen Immortal Island, it was just a wisp of my divine sense, not my true body. Thanks for your concern. Ye Junlin nods, then solemnly switches to the main topic. Senior Liu, so the image I just saw was the truth of what happened in Kunlun realm back then? Correct. Liu Huangshuo nods, his expression softening, his voice becoming steady. That was an immortal war that broke out in the ancient times. Also a turning point that determined the fate of Kunlun realm. Back then, internal turmoil occurred, with traders colluding with foreign races, polluting Kunlun's essence core. Internal and external forces cooperated. The extraterritorial army took the opportunity to launch a major offensive, plotting to destroy our Kunlun realm. And what you saw was that tragic scene. Ye Junlin frowns. Back then it was all immortals. Couldn't anyone stop it? Liu Huangshuo grinds his teeth, his voice full of anger. Because that traitor, his identity and strength were among the highest in the Kunlun realm, there were only 3 people who could stop him back then. But while hunting down the traitor, they fell into an ambush by many Ju Yu powerhouses. Di Tian was captured alive, Floating Feather Empress fell, and Cheng Sheng Wang disappeared without a trace. Speaking to this point, Liu Huangshuo's eyes turn red. Even though it's just a wisp of divine sense, grief still fills him, leaving people speechless. Losing the 3 guardians, and with the essence core polluted, Kunlun realm spiraled into the abyss from then on. At the most critical moment, Ju Yu took the opportunity to launch a great war. That battle was unprecedentedly tragic. The Kunlun realm immortals used their blood and bones to resist, suffering countless casualties, finally temporarily stopping the advance of the Ju Yu army. Unexpectedly, to reduce casualties, they mobilized the River of Death. The most terrifying river of death in the universe was meant to destroy the entire Kunlun realm. Liu Huangshuo laughs coldly. Fortunately, I had set up a great formation early on, forcibly changing the direction of the River of Death, causing the death current to sweep away the Ju Young allied forces. Because of this, they were defeated, and dared not invade again. He sighs, his eyes tinged with fatigue. Unfortunately, the essence core was polluted, the heavens and earth withered, the laws twisted, and it was difficult for immortals to survive. To save the roots, I and the remaining powerhouses joined forces, using a great formation to transform the central starfield of Kunlun realm, gathering the power of myriad realms, creating a new world called Immortal Realm. From then on, cultivators who reach a high realm can ascend from the lower realm and enter the Immortal Realm to cultivate. Although it's not as good as the peak of Kunlun, it's close. Hearing this, Ye Junlin gives a thumbs up, showing sincere praise. Good stuff, so the Immortal Realm was created by you guys. Good job, Liu Huangshuo says sternly. You must remember, if one day Kunlun Realm recovers, people from the Divine Court will definitely come looking. At that time, absolutely do not trust anyone. Kunlun Realm can only rely on itself to cut a bloody path to return to its peak. Ye Junlin nods, his voice steady. Rest assured, no matter how many powerhouses the Divine Court or Ju Yu send, I will suppress them all. What? Liu Huangshuo pauses, his expression immediately becoming strange. He subconsciously takes 2 steps back, his eyes carefully assessing the silver-haired youth in front of him, muttering to himself, are young people these days also arrogant? Ye Junlin opens his mouth. Senior Liu, now that the final layer of the trial has been passed, can Fallen Immortal Island be handed over to me for inheritance? Hearing this, Liu Huangshuo retracts his thoughts, gently stroking his long beard, a profound smile appearing on his face. Of course, from now on, Fallen Immortal Island will be under your control. All cultivation resources are at your disposal, and all living beings on the island will also respect you as their new master. This is an unparalleled immortal opportunity that countless cultivators crave for their entire lives. In his heart, Liu Huangshuo secretly hopes to see this youth's ecstatic expression. Surely he'll jump up and down, laugh loudly in gratitude, or at least pretend to be calm and clasp his hands in thanks. But Ye Junlin only responds softly, his expression still indifferent, not even bothering to twitch the corner of his lips. It's as if the Fallen Immortal Island inheritance is just something he could take or leave. Liu Huangshuo is stunned, the smile freezing on his face. What kind of attitude is that? He yells inwardly. Is he pretending to be calm? Or does he really not care? Liu Huangshuo dares to bet he's never met anyone so strange in his life. You must know. As soon as Fallen Immortal Island opens its inheritance, even immortal emperor powerhouses would squeeze in to beg for it. Yet there's someone so indifferent and unconcerned. He clenches his fist, anger rising in his eyes. Besides being the island master of Fallen Immortal Island, he's also a supreme grandmaster of formations. How can he let this little brat look down on him like this? He must regain his face. Little brat? What do you think of my level of formations? Mentioning his own specialty, Liu Huangshuo can't hide his smugness, his eyes shining, his voice full of confidence. Ye Junlin thinks for a moment and then nods. Very powerful, this is the truth. After witnessing the methods of this island master, he's indeed a little amazed. In an instant, a trace of respect rises in his heart. After all, this is the person who once saved the entire Kunlun realm. A great hero of countless living beings. Hearing the words very powerful, Liu Huangshuo is visibly elated. Formation masters, in essence, must be in sync with their spiritual power, Liu Huangshuo says slowly. If your spiritual power isn't enough, no matter how profound your skills are, you can't set up the corresponding formation. Right now, spiritual power is divided into 200 stages, from stage 1 to stage 200, and I'm stage 200, known as the Supreme Array Master. Stage 200, Ye Junlin asked doubtfully. Senior Liu, please show me your stage 200 spiritual power. He was thinking simply. If he could freeload some of the great master's divine sense, maybe his own spiritual power would skyrocket immediately. Liu Huangchu almost choked, saying in disbelief, Impossible, I'm just a wisp of divine sense. How could I have spiritual power as abundant as my main body? Ye Junlin was silent for a moment, then waved his hand, saying casually, It's okay, I don't blame you. Liu Huangchu's eyes widened, feeling that something was very wrong. Although I don't have stage 200 spiritual power, Liu Huangchu said, with a hint of pride, I can use some tricks to check other people's spiritual power. He squinted at Ye Junlin, saying seriously, Do you want to try? In his heart, he had already decided that he had to make this kid face reality. Even if you're an immortal who attained the Dalio, your spiritual power would only be around stage 20, not to mention you haven't even entered the path of immortality yet, so it's naturally even lower. Liu Huangchu muttered, Alright, then please help me measure it, senior. Ye Junlin nodded, feeling curious inside. Liu Huangchu put two fingers together, held them upright in front of his chest, chanted an incantation, then suddenly opened his eyes, pointed straight at Ye Junlin's forehead, and shouted softly, Open! Instantly, Ye Junlin felt his head buzzing, his sea of consciousness shaking violently. It was as if a huge gate was opening in his mind, allowing others to see clearly everything hidden inside. As I expected, only about 10, 20, 50. It's still increasing. 100. Liu Huangchu only felt his throat dry, his lips trembling, his heart shaking to the extreme. Stage 100 spiritual power. This person's spiritual power is comparable to an immortal king. No way. Ye Junlin also grasped the key point. His spiritual power is stage 100? So I'm only at stage 100? Compared to Senior Liu's stage 200, I'm still far behind, he said sincerely, with a tone of admiration. Senior Liu, you were truly amazing back then. And Ye Junlin's heart, the gap between 100 and 200 stages was huge, so he really thought he was still weak. Bang! With a soft sound, Liu Huangchu's figure flashed in front of Ye Junlin, his hands gripping the young man's collar, his eyes sharp as knives. Only stage 100. Are you even human? Did I say something wrong? Ye Junlin asked, a little confused. Liu Huangchu thought to himself, Anyway, this kid doesn't know how terrifying his spiritual power is. If I tell him, he might fly straight to the heavens. It's just that you haven't even become an immortal yet. But your spiritual power has already reached stage 100. It's really too exaggerated. Liu Huangchu only felt that this young man was his nemesis. From the beginning of the trial until now, every time Ye Junlin took action, it exceeded his expectations, shattering all his understanding. This time, he originally wanted to regain some face in his area of expertise, but he was beaten to a pulp instead. He looked up and sighed, feeling both bitter and helpless. The waves behind pushed the waves ahead, and I'm afraid I've already been buried on the beach. Adjusting his mood, Liu Huangchu showed a kind smile. Little friend, would you like to take a step further in learning formations? I can give you some pointers. You must know that reaching stage 100 spiritual power is already the limit of a heavenly array master. Just one more stage, 101, and you've already stepped into the threshold of a Tao array master. Facing such heaven-defying talent, Liu Huangchu's heart was truly filled with sincere appreciation. He wanted to impart all his knowledge of formations as soon as possible to cultivate Ye Junlin into a true heavenly array master. Just as Liu Huangchu's heart surged with passion, preparing to pass on all his knowledge to this junior to help the Kowloon realm rise again, a calm voice rang out. Thank you, but I refuse. Ye Junlin's voice was very polite, but he still couldn't hide his clear rejection. Huh. Liu Huangchu was stunned, his eyes filled with doubt. What's going on? A dignified Supreme Array Master is willing to personally guide him, but he actually directly refused. Such a precious opportunity. If it were anyone else, they would have knelt down and begged to be taken as a disciple, but Ye Junlin directly said no. Liu Huangchu's face turned serious, his voice sinking. Little friend, do you know what you're saying? This is a heaven-sent opportunity. You should cherish it. Ye Junlin scratched his nose and replied casually. Oh, I guarantee that if you stay in this spiritual space for a little longer, I can make your understanding of formations surpass Earth Array Master, and even reach the standards of a Heavenly Array Master. Oh, do you know what a Heavenly Array Master is? Even in the immortal realm, they are as rare as buns in a basket. Oh, don't be like that. Give me a chance. Let me teach you. I'm begging you. Oh, kiss my ass. Liu Huangchu finally couldn't bear it anymore. Originally a paragon of immortality, he had now turned into a shrewish person, losing all his composure, and bursting out with vulgar language on the spot. Ye Junlin was silent, thinking to himself, was that necessary? I have a direct transmission system. Who has time to learn manually? Outside, countless people were talking noisily, some shaking their heads and sighing, others pounding their chests in frustration, some looking up at the sky and sighing, each with their own emotions. Too. As expected, it's still not my turn. From beginning to end, I'm just a supporting character. Don't be so hard on yourself, fellow Taoist. At least we made it to the third door. We'll have something to brag about when we get back. Haha, that's right. The important thing is that we participated. Hey, look, it's Senior Shu. Why was he also teleported out? A cultivator exclaimed in surprise. Who could have defeated Senior Shu? Whispers rang out everywhere, everyone stretching their imagination and guessing wildly. Among them, a figure in white robes stood silently with a sword. The wind blew, the robes fluttered, and his eyes gazed at the immortal Fall Island enveloped in immortal light, a hint of unwillingness flashing in his eyes. Too. This farewell, I fear we'll hardly meet again in this life. Zhu Wuhen sighed, his voice melancholic. From beginning to end, he never truly knew the girl's true identity. Only that she was the most special woman he had ever met. This girl wasn't flowery or extravagant, but had a carefree personality. So genuine it was unreal. Her maidenly image was something Shu Wuhen had never encountered before. A strange feeling arose in his heart, both endearing and protective. Common people think of Loli as annoying or even repulsive, but in Shu Wuhen's eyes, she possessed a magical juxtaposition. Outwardly strong, inwardly gentle and charming, utterly adorable, making you want to embrace and protect her. If she doesn't want to meet me again, I won't blame her. I hope that when I attain the Sword Dao, she will have the chance to witness everything I achieve, Shu Wuhen muttered, feeling lost. The snow swirled gently around him, solidifying his emotions and dragging the scene, tugging at the listener's heartstrings. Below, many female cultivators seeing this scene, their hearts clenched. Some sobbed. Seeing Senior Shu like this, my heart aches. Wah! The friend next to her wiped away tears with a handkerchief, sniffling. It's so strange, it actually brings me to tears. Hong Tianye, seeing this, poked Mu Li Wuji with his elbow, teasing. Hey Li, are you falling for him? You see sword immortals being all melancholic. Why don't you reveal your identity so the world can have some gossip? Li Wuji blushed crimson. He knew that cross-dressing as a loli was the dumbest thing he'd ever done. Heavens, you'd think with such weird taste there still would be people to like that? At that moment, in the crowd, a figure stood silently, his handsome face twisting, muttering incessantly. It's over. My immortal fate is over. Chen Xiao recalled the scene, his heart breaking. Victory should have been his. He had everything in his grasp, with the divine dragon power in his hands, but then some dude wielding a dragon slayer saber showed up and snatched everything right before his eyes. Just thinking about that bald guy with that hateful face, holding the dragon slayer saber and hacking at him until he almost pissed his pants, made him gnash his teeth, his whole body trembling with anger, his fists clenched tight, his muscles tense all over. Boom. Suddenly, Immortal Fall Island exploded, golden light blazing, a pillar of golden light shooting straight into the sky, illuminating the vast sky, auspicious chi swirling for 90,000 miles, immortal sounds resounding everywhere, filled with spiritual energy and profound charm. The scene was magnificent, as if proclaiming to the world that the new inheritor had been chosen. Heavens! Look there! Shouts of surprise rang out in the crowd. Is that the inheritance ritual of Immortal Fall Island? A powerful cultivator asked, his voice trembling. I just want to know who's the last man standing. Countless cultivators looked up, their eyes shining with anticipation. At this moment, a voice, pure and dignified, echoed from deep within Immortal Fall Island, resonating throughout heaven and earth. Now, begin the official transfer of control over Immortal Fall Island. As soon as the words fell, the entire Immortal Fall Island shook violently. Countless dazzling rays of light bloomed, like the sun being conceived and born, radiating an aura of unparalleled sacredness. Amidst the brilliant golden light, a familiar figure gradually emerged from a ball of light, standing in the center of the golden sphere, as if merging with Immortal Fall Island. Silver hair flying, a face handsome as a god, his whole body radiating an ancient and solemn aura. It's Senior Ye. When the figure became clear, the entire scene exploded with shouts of surprise. Great! Senior Yi got the inheritance! The Huangjiao cultivators cheered excitedly, dancing with joy. Ha ha! Master got the inheritance! Li Wuji was overjoyed, as if a burden had been lifted, breathing a sigh of relief. Good thing it wasn't that guy who blew up his giant eagle. It really was him. Hong Tianye bit her lower lip, an indescribable sourness rising in her heart. Heaven is so unfair. Why is trash like Ye Junlin, who eats and does nothing, getting all the luck, while she's been working her ass off for so many years with nothing to show for it? No. A heart-wrenching scream resounded. Chen Xiao's eyes widened. Why is it you again and again? Chen Xiao gnashed his teeth, his body trembling, hatred burning like fire in his heart. He'd rather let someone else snatch this immortal fate than see Ye Junlin get it, because the latter was the one who murdered his father. Now that enemy was stepping on his head, seizing his God-given opportunity. Seeing the silver-haired figure floating in the air, Liu the old-timer's pupils contracted violently, his face full of shock, muttering, "How is it him? This luck is ridiculously good." Before long, the immortal light gradually dissipated, and the inheritance ritual ended. Ye Junlin stood in the sky above Immortal Fall Island, his silver hair fluttering, his eyes as clear as divine light, the aura around him hazy, like a celestial being descending. This inheritance ritual is indeed flashy. He smiled lightly, his tone relaxed. Not bad, I like it. He calmed his mind, sensing the mysterious connection that was gradually forming between himself and this floating island. Although he didn't fully understand all the functions and effects of Immortal Fall Island, he knew that this place was once the resting place of a supreme powerhouse, and must contain countless mysteries to be discovered gradually. Senior Ye, congratulations, congratulations. Everyone cupped their hands in salute, their hearts full of admiration. Ye Junlin smiled gently, saying calmly, "Happy for all, happy for all." Looking at the cheering crowd below, he leisurely returned the salute, his demeanor as steady as an immortal. Senior Ye, you received the Truk Fuk, blessing, immortal technique in the first 2 rounds, and then strongly seized first place in the last round, making me both admire and envy. Rumble. The space in front suddenly cracked open, emitting a strange, eerie green light. A figure rushed out of the spatial rift, carrying a terrifying, murderous aura. It was a middle-aged man with turquoise hair, his hair braided into countless small braids, flying in the wind. His face twisted with excitement, he roared, "Ye Junlin, I am Nang U Wang, the strongest king of the underworld abyss. Today is the day you die, meet your death." It turned out that Nang U Wang had been hiding in space all along, just waiting for the right moment to strike. Seeing Ye Junlin obtaining immortal fortune, his heart burst with murderous intent, unable to restrain himself from eliminating this person to remove future troubles. "You little bastard, you've got some nerve, daring to act recklessly in front of this immortal," Zhu Wugan angrily shouted. The opponent was just a Tribulation Transcension Realm cultivator, yet he dared to attack in front of him. Boom! True immortal aura erupted from Zhu Wugan's body. The immortal power within him surged, pouring into the long sword in his hand, the sword body shining like a crimson sun in the sky, emitting dazzling brilliance, infinitely radiant. Die! With a single sword strike, the snow-white swordlight surged like snow waves, its momentum overwhelming, the explosion resounding like thunder, its power causing the entire world to tremble. Haha, with Senior Zhu making a move, what's there to fear from the underworld abyss? He's definitely dead. I don't know what he was thinking, daring to appear in this situation. We just need to spit once to drown him. It seems the underworld abyss has reached its end. Even the king has to personally take a desperate gamble. Trisk tisk. The cultivators discussed noisily, their tone filled with sarcasm. In their eyes, Nang U Wang's actions were no different from courting death, but at that moment, Nang U Wang remained calm and unafraid. He slowly took out an ancient, jet-black lantern, the flame inside emitting a dark purple color, as cold as if it came from the abyss of hell. "So what if you're a sword immortal?" he sneered, his voice resonating deeply. "This king has long been prepared." Open, pouring spirit energy into the ancient lantern, the seal was immediately broken. The dark purple flame suddenly erupted, surging violently, transforming into 9 ferocious demonic dragons, their fierce might overwhelming the sky, roaring as they rushed out. Roar! The 9 demonic dragons twisted their bodies crazily, spinning in the air, their entire bodies burning with terrifying purple flames, using those flames to forcefully break through Zhu Wugan's surging, tidal-like sword energy. Sensing that aura surpassing even immortals, Zhu Wugan's expression changed drastically, and he exclaimed in horror, How is this possible?" Nang U Wang sneered, his eyes flashing with madness. "Haha, this is the supreme underworld artifact bestowed upon this king by the envoy. You want to stop me? You can die first." Seeing the terrifying power of the ancient lantern, he became even more confident, his voice resounding like thunder. "Heavens, even Senior Shu can't stop it." The cultivators looked up in a daze, their faces pale, their bodies cold, as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. No wonder this underworld abyss leader dared to take such a reckless move. It turned out he held a celestial artifact in his hands, enough to fear no one. "With me here, you won't be allowed to cause trouble." Zhu Wugan gritted his teeth, his white robe fluttering, the long sword in his hand erupting with brilliant light, executing a peerless sword technique, icy sword intent spreading, transforming into snowflakes fluttering in the air, each snowflake condensing endless sword intent, falling to the ground capable of freezing thousands of miles, paralyzing rivers and mountains, its cold power unparalleled. Roar! The 9 demonic dragons roared, their entire bodies erupting with dark purple flames, incinerating all ice and frost. The purple flames rushed toward Zhu Wugan, filled with unbelievable horror, trembled all over, the spiritual power in his body so chaotic that he almost lost control. What? How could this be? Was a true immortal level attack this weak? The power of this artifact definitely doesn't belong to this realm. Nang U Wang stood in the sky, black aura around him boiling like a sea of demonic flames. From his hand, the underworld artifact emitted a low rumble, like the wailing of the 10,000 spirits in hell, the corners of his lips curling into a cruel smile. HMPH, this is the supreme underworld artifact bestowed upon this king by the envoy. How dare you ants resist? Now, all of you shall become nourishment for my underworld artifact. only to see a dark light explode, and from it countless black shackles shot out like venomous snakes, the chains covered in demonic runes, the ends transforming into cold, sharp points shining with eerie purple light. Each chain seemed to possess intelligence, spinning in space, emitting a horrifying hissing sound. They shot straight towards the cultivators. No, my soul. Ah, no, save me. Dozens of chains pierced through the foreheads of the cultivators, fresh blood splattering, their eyes wide, their souls trembling. Then the black chains began to retract, pulling along a wisp of soul energy like white smoke being sucked dry. Nang Uwang raised his head and laughed loudly, demonic energy swirling around him. Ha ha! The souls of immortals are indeed delicious. Shu Wugan widened his eyes, his face pale. This is the true terror of a treasure from beyond this realm. Now let your immortal soul become the first drop of blood for my immortal-slaying underworld artifact. Immediately after, the 9 demonic dragons, carrying terrifying might, simultaneously rushed towards Zhui Wugan, feeling the surging heat wave rushing towards him, like mountains collapsing and seas overturning. His face turned pale, his heart filled with a sense of impending death. Could it be that I, who just became an immortal, am about to perish, just as life and death hung by a thread? A familiar voice rang beside his ear. Step aside. This one is here for me. Senior Ye, Zhu Wugan, was stunned, shouted, Master! Li Wuji cried out in panic, his face pale, his heart about to jump out of his chest. Could it be that I have to die in such a hurry? What? Hong Tianye was stunned, muttering in disbelief. No. The desolate continent cultivators screamed in despair, tears streaming down their faces, their minds collapsing. They couldn't believe that the idol they worshipped was about to be destroyed by the underworld abyss. At that moment, Nang Uwang laughed maniacally, his face twisted with excitement. Ye Junlin, I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to my doorstep. Today this king will not only kill you but also kill all the rest. Today this king wants to carry out a great slaughter. Amidst countless horrified gazes, Ye Junlin calmly stepped forward, actively rushing towards the 9 demonic dragons burning with raging flames. His solitary figure amidst the sea of fire was both tragic and heroic. Rumble. The 9 demonic dragons roared, carrying purple flames surging like a sea of fire, simultaneously diving down, seemingly wanting to incinerate the entire world. Yet amidst that storm, and the overwhelming murderous aura, Ye Junlin was not afraid at all. The corner of his lips slightly curved up, a confident smile appearing. His 2 hands slowly spread open, that posture as if welcoming a sacred ritual. At that moment, the familiar voice of the system rang in his mind. Ding! Detected that the host is being attacked by an enemy at the 5th level of the true immortal realm, activating the passive effect of getting stronger when facing the strong. Cultivation level promoted to the 6th level of the true immortal realm. A moment later, Ye Junlin's body suddenly shook violently. All the magic power in his body seemed to be recreated, transforming into a majestic and surging immortal power. The aura on his body erupted, stronger than before countless times. Just a movement of raising his hand, a step forward carried the earth-shattering momentum, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. This is immortal energy. Shu Feng was shook, feeling that enormous power, like a dirt-poor dude suddenly sitting on the throne of the heavenly king, both stoked and overwhelmed. So damn strong, way stronger than he imagined. Preft, Zhu Feng coughed, lightly spitting out some phlegm. Boom, a rumble echoed through space. The 9 demonic dragon heads, burning fiercely, were like doused with holy water, instantly extinguished, vanishing without a trace, like they never even existed, bruh. Space went completely silent. The previous mournful wails cut off immediately. Countless people stared dumbfounded at the scene before them, their minds blank, unable to react. In their eyes, the 9 world-devouring demonic dragon heads that were about to burn the heavens and earth were just gone, snuffed out by Senior Yi's Lugi. What? Zhu Wuhen, who was charging forward with his sword, suddenly froze mid-air. His sword stopped, his eyes widened, his face full of unbelievable shock. When he looked back at the silver-haired youth, he saw Zhu Feng's body radiating brilliant immortal light, an aura of a true immortal vast and beyond compare. Zhu Wuhen gasped, his voice trembling. Senior Ye? So you were already an immortal? Holy SHT! Is my master really an immortal? Li Wuji's eyes went round, his heart pounding like crazy, like it was about to explode. What kind of good karma did he rack up in this life to get to be a disciple of an immortal? No wonder his master could pull out countless extraordinary treasures, always cool as a cucumber when facing strong enemies. Simple, because to an immortal, everyone else is just ants. This guy really is? Hong Tianye stared blankly at the silver-haired figure glowing with immortal light. Completely lost. She recalled everything from the past, and the more she thought about it, the more obvious the signs were, especially that time in Yawang Valley when facing the rules set by immortals. Shu Feng could still adjust his cultivation at will. That was definitely not something a tribulation-transcending cultivator could do. Only an immortal could use their own Daoyo power to shake the rules of heaven and earth, moving freely and calmly. WH. What is going on here? Nang Yuwang's eyes bugged out, his whole body trembling, his scalp tingling, so horrified that he let out a shrill scream. Before acting, he had anticipated countless possibilities, but he never expected to fail in such a bizarre and unbelievable way. Shu Feng's white figure flashed, instantly appearing in front of Nang Uwang. His eyes shone brightly, as if seeing through all things, his body exuding the terrifying aura of a 6th heaven true immortal, crushing the space around him. That terrifying sense of oppression made Nang Uwang's whole body stiff, afraid to move. After entering the realm of true immortality, each major realm is divided into 9 heavens, and the power that Nang Uwang released earlier was only equivalent to a 5th heaven true immortal, which is considered average among immortals. But that battle stimulated the stronger when facing the strong mechanism in Shu Feng's body, directly propelling him to the 6th heaven true immortal realm. With his unparalleled Dao foundation, coupled with various transformation methods and 2 immortal art buffs, Xu Feng, upon reaching the 6th heaven, became so powerful that he was almost invincible in the same realm. Therefore, when facing the 9 demonic dragon heads condensed from black flames, even with the power of the 5th heaven, he dealt with them without any pressure at all. To think that you could bring experience from so far away, not bad, not bad. Xu Feng nodded, his voice calm, as if he were commenting on some entertainment. Experience. Nangyu Wang was stunned, completely not understanding what he was talking about. But before he could think more, his body unconsciously bent over, sweat pouring down like rain. The fierce arrogance from before had vanished completely, leaving only a pale face trembling as he begged, "Immortal, you're satisfied. Please, please, spare my life." In front of a powerful, immortal, Nangyu Wang understood that resistance was futile. He trembled and bent his knees, bowing his head deeply, hoping to keep a sliver of a chance to survive. Xu Feng slightly extended his hand, the meaning too clear to need further explanation. "Immortal, take it." Nangyu Wang hurriedly offered the ancient lamp, his expression humble, his hands shaking as he handed it over. "This thing is called underworld energy," Xu Feng asked casually, a hint of interest flashing in his eyes. He gently turned the ancient lamp in his hand, observing the cracks covering the surface. Obviously, this thing had completely lost its effect, but just now, it had unleashed the power of a 5th heaven true immortal, enough to terrify ordinary people. Xu Feng nodded, his eyes calm. The person who created this thing has deep intentions. Even though it is only a one-time use item, if it were to be popularized in the cultivation army, the consequences would be extremely terrifying. You once said that this underworld energy was given by an envoy? Xu Feng's voice dropped, a cold light flashing in his eyes. I am very curious. Who is the envoy in your mouth? His eyes rested on Nangyu Wang, bringing a cold power that made the other party's soul tremble. Boom! Nangyu Wang's body trembled violently. His head felt like it was about to explode, suffocated by an invisible pressure. He understood that it was immortal might, something that a mortal body could not resist. I was momentarily muddled, and listened to the enticements of a villain. Please raise your hand high. Spare my life. I am willing to lead the entire Mingyuan to submit to you. Xu Feng raised his eyebrows slightly, his eyes as deep as an abyss. Mingyuan, you guys have been sending troops everywhere these past 2 years, fighting north and south, ostensibly to expand your territory. His voice became colder and colder. But isn't it actually to seize areas with stargates? To control the number of stargates in advance? Nangyu Wang was frightened. His face changed color. You even know about our stargate plan. Xu Feng slowly stepped forward, each step like treading on the other party's soul. Stargates are doors connecting the myriad realms. Once opened, the allied forces from the outer realms will flood in, occupying the entire eastern region of the Kunlun world. And the envoy you spoke of, 8 or 9 times out of 10, is from outer realm forces. My analysis isn't wrong, right? Nangyu Wang swallowed, forcing a smile in fear. Immortal, I admit you are very strong in the eastern region, but compared to the real powerhouses of the outer realms you are nothing. Instead of waiting for them to flood in, why not cooperate in advance to find a— In the Mingyuan royal palace, Nangyu Wang's eyes snapped open. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His gaze was panicked, with extreme fear in his eyes. Since the outbreak of the Great War, he had been guarding the royal palace, secretly manipulating a clone to bring Ming Qi to Huangzhou. His plan was to lie low and wait for the right moment, then launch a devastating attack, with the ultimate goal of eliminating Ye Jianlin. According to his original calculations, this was supposed to be a sure win, a great achievement that would consolidate his power. But the outcome was beyond his imagination. He lost everything. Not only did he lose the precious Ming Qi bestowed upon him, but even the clone that he had painstakingly cultivated, which had the same cultivation as his main body and was his trump card to suppress the Mingyuan kings, was completely destroyed. Nangyu Wang clutched his chest, his body trembling. The intense pain came not only from his physical body, but also from his mind, so painful that he could hardly breathe, and he couldn't even cry. He never expected that this Ye Jianlin would actually be a true immortal. Fortunately, it was only a clone. If it had been his main body, he would have been annihilated on the spot. Just then, the void trembled slightly, and a dense stream of death energy condensed, revealing the figure of a young Ming clan member. He had a wicked appearance, with 2 sharp horns growing from his forehead. As soon as he appeared, his aura distorted the space. His eyes swept over Nangyu Wang, who was kneeling on the ground, and a cold voice rang out. What happened? Did the mission fail? Reporting, Divine Envoy, that Ye Jianlin concealed his true immortal cultivation. Although that Ming Qi was powerful, it couldn't do anything to him. Nangyu Wang tried to suppress his fear and replied tremulously, his voice stuttering. What? Ming Yi was shocked, his face as gloomy as a storm cloud, and his voice deepened. That Ming Qi was clearly a method of a 5th heaven true immortal. Could it be that Ye Jianlin has a cultivation of the 6th heaven or higher? Please forgive me for not seeing through it. I only know that the 9 raging flame demon dragons released by the Ming Qi were all, extinguished by him with a single gob of spit. Nangyu Wang's voice trailed off, his eyes trembling, clearly still haunted by that image. Ming Ye stood silently, his eyes becoming heavy. He knew very well that the power of that Ming Qi was equivalent to the attack of a 5th heaven true immortal. Yet Ye Jianlin had dissolved it with a single breath. This proved that the opponent was definitely not an ordinary true immortal. This Ye is really hiding deep, and his mental fortitude is frighteningly tough. But that's good. If the mission were too easy, it would be boring. Next, We need to make him pay the price. Ming-Ye smiled coldly, his voice calm but sharp as a sword. Nang Yuang said in a trembling voice. Has the divine envoy thought of the next step? Ming-Ye laughed coldly. Mingyuan is a sacred ground opened up by the Ming clan's ancestor, containing a shocking secret. With that thing, even if a celestial king enters Mingyuan, they won't be able to leave alive, let alone someone like Ye Junlin. He's nothing. His words were full of arrogance, clearly showing that he was not afraid at all. Nang Yuang took a deep breath, then tried to regain his composure. He never expected Mingyuan to be so powerful. But how to lure the eastern region cultivators in? Ming Yuang revealed a profound smile. This matter requires using the pawn I have arranged outside. At that moment, at the Xuantianzong on Piaomiao Peak, Shu Yushinian burst into joyful laughter as soon as he saw the figure, his voice unable to hide his excitement. Junior brother Ye, the rumors outside are going wild. Everyone's talking about you. I never expected you to have become an immortal. The peak master of Kangjian Peak stepped forward, his eyes half complaining, half admiring. I really admire you. So you were intentionally hiding it from us all along? The peak master of Tianxing Peak raised his eyebrows, his voice full of jest, but also a bit serious. Do you know how to talk? Junior brother Ye is tempering his Dao heart and integrating into the masses. His state of mind is different now. Ye Junlin gently waved his hand, his appearance as calm as drifting clouds and flowing water. Hey, be humble. Li Wuji laughed joyfully, his eyes as bright as if he had just seen a treasure. Master, don't be humble. This time, you even inherited the fallen immortal island, a top-level immortal realm inheritance. Hong Tianye stood beside him, looking Ye Junlin up and down with his arms crossed. Look at that face. He's starting to pretend again. A group of people surrounded Ye Junlin, their eyes burning. Junior brother Ye, quickly show us what that inheritance is like. Is there a chance for everyone to enter the immortal path? Ye Junlin lowered his head, carefully looking at the tiny thing in his palm. This